This team has been everywhere but the main stage. It's time for the Marshmallows to light up a major. It's MNM! And their opponents. It's a new cast, but the same dominant show, looking to turn SI Heartbreak into a major love story. It's W7M! Looking good, guys. Please do take a seat. Everybody except for Felipox, do please come and take a step next to me here on the stage. Nello as well. Just before we throw you guys into our second quarterfinal, just want to ask you a couple of questions. Felipox, you joined W7M just 2 months ago. How do you feel like you're fitting in, and are you enjoying it?
It feels amazing to be a part of such a good team. We are fitting very well, and yeah, that's it.
Well, it feels like it is. Look, you are right here on the main stage and you deserve to be here. Now, Nello, it has been 1,272 days since you were last stood on a main stage. That time round, you actually lifted a trophy as well. It must feel incredible to be back.
I mean, I've been waiting for this for years, literally years. So I'm going to enjoy every moment of it. Copenhagen!
And the fans love you, by the way, just so you know. Felipox, you know, you're surrounded by teammates that made it to the SI final in February, and they suffered heartbreak. Are they using that to drive them on to be a better team?
Yeah, I think so. They got so close to winning the Invitational, and now we are hungry for more.
Absolutely. And Nello, there's a couple of special people in the crowd here who've come to see you in action. Do you want to give a shout out to them? Who've we got here?
My girlfriend Matea, my mom Sandra, and a bunch of other friends.
Shout out to Nello's mum. Is there any concern that Julio, of course, former world champion, former teammate of your roster here, is now their head coach? Does that concern you at all?
I think they have a little advantage on that. They know how we play, but that would be no problem for us.
Final question before I send you back. Any last words for your opponent here?
Good luck.
Good luck. That's very kind of you. What do you think?
Good luck for him too. He'll need.
Oh, any response to that?
We'll just play on the server and do our game.
Okay.
Let the game talk. Let the game talk.
All right, I'm not going to push you guys any further. Please do take a seat with your teammates, and best of luck to both of you. This should be an amazing second quarter-final here. I cannot wait for it. I know another man who can, and that is Milos with the analysts on the desk.
Thank you very much, Ian. That's it. Our teams are set and ready. MNM have walked in and W7M on the other side. And hello, welcome back to the analyst desk. We meet once more for just a bit more info before we get into our game. I'm Estimatic, your hosts. With me are Ann and Fresh. And now it's all official. It seems like Julio will have a big impact. Even the players themselves, Felipox was saying it. That's something we're going to have to work with.
Exactly, yeah. I liked a little bit of spice coming from both of them, really, in advance of this game. Really sets the tone for this matchup.
I actually think they couldn't have picked two nicer people to try and trash talk
That's
with
true.
each other, though. Both Nello and Felipox are like the nicest souls in Siege.
But how are they when they all huddle together? This is, you expect screams from them? Is it a big hype up, or how is it?
Yeah, I think especially the Brazilian teams, obviously we've been seeing it at the studio all week or the last couple of weeks. These Brazilian teams with their pre-match huddles getting hyped, getting themselves going. And I think, Felipe, a couple of the Brazilian teams have actually mentioned it, is they use that to just get themselves going, to get themselves in the mindset, get the energy high, and keep it high during the round so that they're all 100%.
they're not going the same length as Dark Zero when you have all the war paint on you, but that's, I guess, another psychological segment that, you know, some teams would like to play with in the future. But now, MNM, what else can they pull? Because for all intents and purposes, setting Julio aside, W7M might have their number. I mean, they look incredible going into this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, they had a really good start at this tournament. As I mentioned, you had to face a loss, only played best of ones, whereas MNM certainly had a more difficult path coming into this game. But I like to, you know, sort of bash them, MNM saying in EUL, for the fact that they didn't do that well on entries. They've actually stepped up massively with that, and they have one person on their team that we really need to be looking forward to. I mean, Usis has the best entry rate of this tournament, but then on the other side, Solotov, he's been putting up kills. He's got the best KD stat of all players right now. He's just putting kill and kill and kill after kill.
And MNM aren't just doing that against, you know, run-of-the-mill teams. MNM have played up against FaZe, who are the #1 seed of Brazil. They played up against M80, who was the #1 seed out of NA. They played VP, the #1 seed out of EU, and they've played up against G2, the SI champions. MNM have got here through playing a lot of maps and a lot of rounds, and against some of the most fierce opponents out there in totality, and they're still putting up increased entry rates, increased stats.
I think it definitely is on another level when you go up against W7M, which for a lot of people out there is nominated to win the entire event, even if we're looking back at what happened at SI.
I think when you've got an SI finalist coming to an event, obviously you're going to have high expectations for them. But they lost their IGL, they lost their support player in Julio, and they brought in very good players and very good replacements in terms of, you know, Philippox and Nade coming in. What they've managed to do is still maintain W7M as a fabric of W7M in terms of the way they want to play, how stylistically they want to play. They still want to enable Herds, they still want to enable KZ and JV to do what they're good at, as we've just seen them come out of their pre-match huddle there. And they've managed to do it, you know, pretty well in terms of not rocking the boat too much.
Yeah, Hertz and Casey are definitely putting up the numbers. They are #2 and #3 right now, rating-wise, of all players in this tournament. And I feel like specifically these two and some other players on the roster as well, they have these players that can really step up in that late round and really turn around towards their favor.
Well, we know that Nello is this player that can keep us calm and keep his team together.
Yeah.
The game. What's the equivalent on the W7M side?
I mean, you know, just to touch up on that real quick, I think they have to. They face potential elimination on the second day of the tournament, MNM speaking. They probably have Nerves of Steel coming back, playing 5 games in total there. I feel if you look at the previous games, both Hertz and Casey have made plays in very dangerous territory. They were stood in fire, facing multiple enemies right in front of them, so I feel like there's multiple people on the side of W7M that can do that.
I've got to give a shout out to Philippox. I think, you know, when you look at Philippox as a player, and his history as a player. He was previously a star player, you know, of his old roster when he was on MIBR. He was the guy. And he was the guy on that team that was getting the big kills, that was getting the flashy plays. He's coming to this roster, he's now IGLing it, he's taking a back seat. He's having to put his ego on the shelf to maintain what made this roster good, and he's doing it with absolute class.
All right, so there is a lot to look forward to here. MNM, though, on the other side, action in the server itself, because we know that this is a team that kind of likes to take the long way home, as the song goes. And I'm wondering, will you have enough breath to keep up with W7M?
Yes, they like to make it difficult for themselves. They played the most amount of maps out of everyone in this tournament. They also have these players that can really step up in the late round, similar to W7M, but they're very clutch reliant at times. Both Tyrant and Nello are on the top of the clutch leaderboard for this tournament. It's not necessarily a reliable win factor, but if you have that happening, it can really switch the momentum.
Okay. Then what are expectations map-wise here? Who can really come out on top? And we don't have the map veto yet. We're kind of just playing it in our heads.
So maps are the curious things, because there's a particular map that both of these teams, I would argue, are the best team in the world on, and that's
Really?
Chalet. MNM have lost Chalet once in their existence, and W7M have it basically banned against them. They also both really like Club. The map pools of these teams are not far off being identical, so it's very subject to interpretation, but particularly Chalet. If we see a Chalet today, there is potential that it would be, you know, one of the best Chalets ever played, because both teams are that proficient on it.
Well, I hope that we'll get the map in between here, because I want to see 2 very specific players going up against one another in our head-to-head and then in the server. Let's bring up that graphic and see what our analysts picked up, Solotov and Hertz, and why this comparison.
I picked this comparison because I feel like these two players are the front spear of this team. You have sort of really putting up the numbers, Hertz as well. These players can find themselves in an engagement, be successful, and then fully separate themselves from any danger, any risk that comes after. For example, sort of, he can jump into a window, get a kill, jump out again, and the enemy team's completely lost where he was. You know, you've got Hertz on the other side, really putting up numbers. The cost isn't the highest on these two players, so this indicates that they either have these rounds where they massively step up, and they have rounds where they kind of lose their team, the rounds, because they succeed to do their entry.
The kind of make or break players, right? In terms of they will make a play. You know, most rounds, these two guys will be the ones that are making a play for their team. I think especially from the MNM side, if it doesn't work for Solotov, that's where you then start to question what's going on after that. For Hertz, you know, he's got a better team around him, in my opinion, that can pick up the pieces in a 4v5.
Well, Jack, we got a gift. Here is our pick and ban.
Duh.
4 maps banned. First up, W7M on Kafe. Then for Border and Villa as our decider. Chalet was the first one banned out. This time it's W7M removing it. Global thoughts on our map pool?
Oh, I'm so upset we don't see a Chalet or Clubhouse, but both teams actually respecting each other in that map veto to get rid of them straight away, saying, hey, we think you're unreal at these maps. Kafe for W7M is an interesting one because MNM absolutely love the map. It's very high preference for them. But obviously they have played a lot of it, did lose it against G2. There's a lot of VOD review. You know, whichever map W7M are going to, there's going to be loads of VOD on it. And then Border. MNM have picked into Border now, despite the fact that W7M, when they last played Border, they won it against Sonics. And when MNM last played Border, they lost it against FaZe, both 8-7 overtimes. Very close games, but obviously, again, probably another one from the VOD archives. Despite the result, I think there's, you know, definitely reason to go there.
Yeah, especially for that first map as well. I mean, you mentioned that it's a really good map for MNM. They like to play it. W7M themselves have a victory on this map during this tournament. They play Bliss on it.
Yep.
Pretty convincing victory, but then again, it might not be the strongest opponent that we really should put this into account. The decider going to be Villa. It's a good map for MNM, not really the highest of preferences for them, but for W7M, it is a high preference, and they have a recent 7-0 on it.
Well, my friends, our game is ready and fresh. Thank you very much. And now it's time for our first European team to take the stage and start the game. MNM flows up against W7M. Our casters are set. Our crowd is hyped. Let's take it to Flukenhout.
Thank you very much, Milos, and the team at the desk. And yes, what an honor. MNM, a team that I have followed since the hallowed halls of Manchester many years ago. And then Hap, well, we've also got a pretty good competitor against them in W7M, who are phenomenal and have just kept that roll up for over a year now.
The runner-ups as well of the World Championships. They are here to play. They're here to finally find themselves with another opportunity of winning a title. But first, these quarterfinals before they can continue. Now we're starting off at Kafe. You all know what that means. You're going to have 4 operators that need to be removed off the board. I can't wait.
Was the audience singing along with this song?
Are they?
I think I can hear a little bit over the walls. We're hidden away in the back of the building. That is a close preference. And you may be thinking, why is that a close? All right, let's put some perspective on the route that these two teams have gone here. MNM could not have taken a tougher route. They have played a total of 15 maps throughout this tournament so far. And the opposite side of this, and the opposite side of the seeding, W7M have played 5. They have had a very, very smooth run to get here.
Yeah, for sure they have, you know, played as many maps as MNM has lost over the tournament so far. Thatcher to be removed first by the side of MNM. Now, Thatcher is, of course, a mainstay ban. You know, started to become less so, but sometimes back in the saddle. Montaigne to be removed, okay. Very particular ban to come out.
So obviously they had a head-to-head graphic. Okay, makes sense. Obviously they had a head-to-head graphic. My favorite story, my head-to-head, Julio versus Julio.
Yes.
How does that... One more.
Solace.
No Tachanka ban yet. No Tachanka played yet.
No, not played either.
As I was saying, Julio versus Julio. Obviously, the big story here, the man was on W7M, if but a month and a half ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Playing on the biggest stage in the biggest game of them all. Didn't quite win it then. Retired. Kicked out of retirement by MNM. A team that has for a long time seeded championship players to the core of our scene. Look throughout this tournament, Sonics, Citizen, Doki and Blur, obviously on G2. MNM has fed and filtered a lot of talent into this pool. It's the first time they've plucked championship talent back out, and it's got them here, their first major stage. Well, ever.
Yeah, they finally made it. They've made it to quite some majors, you know, but this finally on that main stage, that's what counts. And they want to give it a go as well. Let's see if, you know, after getting all those talents, all those players that have won championships into the professional scene, they can now find one of those championships themselves. They're here at the final stage of the tournament in the quarterfinals. It starts off very soon here as the action phase is underway. They're on the defense. They get to set their own puzzle. They'll do so with the castle. They'll do so with Azami. It's definitely going to be making things a bit difficult here for W7M to break through. A lot of utility will have to be used to stop these angles from being used by MNM.
One of the fun things about comparing these two teams is we don't actually have a direct comparison. For all the times that they've been able to make their way onto a major stage, they've never actually faced each other, but they have had a couple of tastes at the region. And currently, W7M are on a 50% map win region, right, against EU. A little bit worse for Wolves, who've been able to pull, MNM, who've been able to pull 3 of the 7 maps that they've got. Kafe, ironically, one of the ones that they lost against NIP SI 2022. Julio was on that roster. Has he been able to give them a couple of tips so they can try and beat their opponents? It starts with the pressure here. Tyrant holding on towards 90, the pressure onto the white corridor window. Isn't quite able to get the catch on the player. KZ wants the fight, and so does Hertz, who swings his way in.
Very quick control to be gained here by the side of W7M. Good use of utility there, instantly following up, but they're also using a lot of utility here. They're using these grenades, they're using these explosives to get rid of castle barricades, of Azami barriers, and that might make him have a bit of trouble later on. Flashbang starting to come through, will be caught up by the magnets. Solitaire will fall back just slightly behind the wood stack out there, but as Hertz drops through the hatch, maybe accidentally, not quite sure, he finds himself in the middle of the two sites and no one seems to be aware of it.
Nath, does he know that somebody's slicked their way through to his right-hand side? It's a big open angle, and it might be a big opening kill here. Hertz, he's taken a golden opportunity, and it seems MNM are, a little bit more aware. The first kill falls into the hands of Nath, player who's had his first showing on a major stage since 2019 in the Bowlers Centre, Manchester. Ian Chambers' first ever Siege gig, if you wanted a fun fact, and here he is. Back again, getting the opener as KZ, someone who's seen many a major stage recently. He's going to see if he can bite one back on the back stairs.
The first one went to MNM. They can now slow it down just a little bit here. There's 40 seconds left on the clock. There's still some work that needs to be done by W7M here as they haven't opened up any of these walls. They have that top floor control, but there's no verticality truly yet. If it isn't for Philippbox now trying to open up a little bit, instantly replied to with a C4 that won't catch him, but MNM definitely ready to fight back as JB92 looking to go for an entry as there's actually 2 on either side.
Solotov's able to just get one back, and there's Usus over the top with Philippbox. Able to swing some control, but 15 seconds. Nade is on the other side, trying to get the kit down in the meantime. MNM's too focused on the single fight. Nade has to pull himself back up, goes down behind the mining equipment on the far end. The 2 remaining players, Usus and Solotov, they swing for the first. And MNM take their first round. Some would say that's the roughest to take when it's your first time on a major stage. That's that big question of the day, Hap. Are MNM a major stage team? They've opened up with a tick in the yes box.
To find out. Usually it's the first and the last. They're a long way away from the last one, but the first one is on the board. And on a bit of an offside as well. The Turk tree, it is going to be mining. So, you know, not really something we do often see as the very first sight. W7M, they find themselves with a good way to fight back, just not really having the control they needed or the angles they required to allow themselves to fight back before MNM could strike them, as they wanted to get that plan down. And as the singing continues, so does our journey on that first floor as we're headed towards Reading Room now. Again, the top floor will be a major subject of this round. It needs to be taken, shields are being set up. Surely Azami barriers will follow soon as well. And again, we will see that same kind of story unfold. W7M will need to clear this out. then make sure they have the verticality to go their way, and then see if they could potentially get that plant on the board this time, because that's what they were working towards, but couldn't quite convert in that last round.
One of the things about W7M versus EU teams on Kafe is, well, they don't really have the best record. Obviously, there was the time it was played in the midst of the SI final not too long ago, which G2 was able to take 7-4, but not long before that, in the same tournament, BDS 7-2. They were able to sort of push them aside. It was a close fight versus G2 the first round. They won it out, but 7-5, max standard rounds. So you're still looking at a team that, you know, it's not the same W7M we see that can 7-0 a map. Not always, but they can. They always have that statistic for pretty much every single map in the pool. And here, if MNM get off to a pretty strong start, if they start threading 3 or so rounds in a row, who knows where they can go here?
It's always that big question we would like to see answered. And as they're waiting up on the top and on the windows, they're preparing themselves to go for the first bit of the execute. Nate comes through, or at least the flashbang gets caught off by the mech, and the E1D will give away some spots, and that's going to be the entry kill from JV92, who's ready to go for one, but Solotov ready for the return.
Naif is able to get another for his tally as Hertz is sort of sat waiting, hoping for an opportunity. It does not come. The pressure has to be reapplied once again. The drop on the shield, the steady movement over the top with Philippox on one shoulder and Nate on the other. They're going for a very coordinated take here. And W7M have played those brilliantly throughout this tournament. The synergy between all of the players to make sure they can get from point A to point B, whether it's the site or not, is something that has been so consistently driven. Solotov prepares himself a little bit of a risky swing. There's nobody currently in those positions. It seems like they're all internal and all going for that pressure at this moment in time, but you never know. We've had window players from W7M before. It's an option. And MNM more than happy to have as many of those as possible.
C4s have been prepped. This would be the goal, but Philippox takes only a single point of damage from that one. Continuous work with the Caber up top. Hertz in the meantime finds himself near the reading room, looking to sneak in. Having the opportunity to maybe make a play happen here as they manage to get the diffuser in as well. The plant is going to be attempted here. Are they aware on the side of MNM? Well, they're definitely rotating around. Are they in time though? That does seem to be a no, but can they go for the retake instead?
Usus onto one, Nello's got the fight on the other, but they've got to move quick. They're slipped around the single down player. They've gone for the pistolas, and it's a 2 versus 1. One's holding the door, one's holding the kit. Will he hold F long enough? No! Naif with the swing, and there's the UK section. There's another section familiar to your heart.
Definitely is.
The Wolves section.
The Wolves section.
Still here, but 2 rounds. The opening there for MNM. Will they make it 3 here? W7M are knocking on the door of success, and that's still the worry, because as soon as they start to piece some ideas together, that's when they become tougher to shut down. It's prodding, it's probing, it's finding routes through on their attack. They got right through onto the site, had themselves buried in. One of those engagements goes away from them. It's highly likely that's a W7M round.
But that's kind of the game we want to see here today as well, right? Like, we want to see these teams go down to the wire every single round on every single map to decide who is going on to the semifinals. And as the first 2 went MNMs, you mentioned it, they could have just as well went to W7M. I like the way that they started off that round. They were waiting on all these rotating angles. They were using the E1D. They're starting to put some pressure down, hoping to catch 1 or 2 off guard. Well, they found one, couldn't quite connect to the other. Before they were shut down themselves. But those kind of plays, they can really help you out later on. Round 3, we're still avoiding all the way to the top floor. We are headed towards the ground floor. Kitchen servers and cooking is where we'll be headed. As we have a talent shield on the board from Philippox that might indicate what kind of a push we will be seeing. Take that control, put the shield down, diffuser right behind it. Do not take more than you need to make that happen.
Now, obviously, we have had Kafe from both these teams throughout this tournament so far, and yeah, I know I said that W7M don't have a 7-0 or 7-1 against an EU team. They do have a 7-1 against Bliss, slightly early on in the earlier phase, and unfortunately for MNM, they just have a loss, a max OT loss on this map versus G2.
Located by attackers.
There is recent play, recent VODs and recent reviews that they've been able to piece together, and I think, as we said on the desk, a lot of respect paid between these 2 teams. And here it is, more respect paid. A big bit of pressure over, force the players out of Bakery, back into the side. The Yossa is ready to roll that Talon shield around the corner. The Selma's opening up. Naif goes big, but Trade it out. Can't be too monumental. Use assist though. The swing of the Vector! And the double down with the pistol. KZ stems the blood and finds more of his own. 2 versus 2, pops out the cams and bites W7M back into the round with a vicious swing.
Still a massive play that just has been made, though. A lot of the utility taken out of the attacker's hands, and that leaves them with basically, well, 2 flashbangs and 2 guns to go with here. Well, there is still going to be a C4, some smoke canisters on the side of MNM, as there is going to be a spot. KZ trying to move through. Are you aware on the side of MNM? That's that big question. He's creeping closer and closer. The crossfire was there, but it failed, and it is going to be W7M that locks out the round and finds himself with the first on the board.
One bit of intel led there to the great take on the first. They had the cover. We're a little bit too far out of range there. MNM lose their first round. W7M claim theirs, and, well, you look at that explosive middle section, that is what this game can and probably will be. Users moving past the Flores drone. Yep, getting that kill. And then the double down onto the pistol, and then just popping his way around. But this, KZ, oof. And then a second. That is that player that you really don't want them to be activated, but when are they not?
They're always really there. It's never a game when they're not having any impact out there, and one of those rounds is a perfect example of why you should always be wary of them. Now headed towards the top floor. Means we've seen all 4 sites already. Already.
Give us
it's only round 4.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, you sort of see, obviously, this being a riskier site in some books. You have to have a lot of confidence in your hold. Think of it in the best perspective of this is CC on Club, a team, both these teams that enjoy that map, but it became the first pick for attackers, so it became the first one learned for defense, attackers even. Duh, I know the way around this goes. It became that one that you studied the most. You prepared your takes, you had your angles set up, and you did probably the most VOD review on how your opponents like to held it, because you assume by guarantee you're seeing it at least twice, maybe more if you win it. So people started to pull away from it. It was too risky. People were learning it very quick on the attack, and well, one of those regions that, for my money, still was the most influential in designing how to take an attack onto this floor was the Latin American region.
It definitely was. Solotov just creeping down below, of course, having a nitro cell in hand. They'll be waiting patiently before a push is starting to be formulated by the side of W7M. But all they are doing right now is opening up windows, holding off these angles, making sure that they have the opportunity to strike back. There comes one. It's going to be dealing a lot of damage to Herds, but not quite the kill. Tries to instantly reply by a grenade, but a magnet is going to be eating that one up, and that means he only has 1 left in pocket now.
Well, we can see a bit of a run out, and it's able to net the kill onto KZ. Obviously, he was the swing round that fought them back into the round before. The grenade won't quite get the pop-off that they want, as Herds has to pull back. The double rotate all the way up, just to make sure the player gets himself in a nice position. And here, Usus, aggressive on the white window. Whether he wants to go for something on a player that might put their pressure onto it, seems like that's not the plan. They lost the first engagement on the far side, and W7M, with 1 minute and 10 left, have quickly picked up, rotated round. Take the head off for Herds, look for the follow-up fight. Not quite able to get it.
Not quite yet. And 1 minute left on the clock still. Mirror windows out and about that they need to deal with here. Need to make a move happen here. The Bucks hiding right behind the piano. It's Nade to hold a tight angle as well, hoping for a bit of an overstep. The smokes are starting to come through, and that should be the call to try and make this plan stick. There is going to be cover out there, but a C4 will find him, and that means Nade now needs to go aggressive, as it is Uses to reply as well.
Nade, he wants to stick the kit, but he's not quite confident enough. Herds, he's in a position to try and watch it with some support. He looks away at the worst possible moment, but Nade pops off! The double onto the pressure. There's one more for Herds, and suddenly, a 4 versus 2 is entirely turned on the head. Solotov, the man who's claimed rounds by himself, ekes his way through, but W7M get their second round.
They brought that one well, as it looked like MNM was able to turn the tides. The C4 stopping the cover, them then afterwards needing to go for a chase to clear themselves some ground, somehow able to fight themselves back into it. Well, I say somehow, but these are the runner-ups. These are incredible gunners, incredible players. They know exactly how you'll be playing. And they just showed here to play and to reply and to make sure that they are the ones to fight for this first map win. A great run out from Solotov though, removing a lot of pressure. Oh, you taken out like that by Herds afterwards. Very painful.
I mean, the advantage that MNM had there here, that's where it all sort of fell away from them. Twice turning their back to Hertz in that position. That's that worry. I know I posed the question at the beginning, are MNM a team for the major stage? And I said it was a tick in the yes. Losing a 4 versus 2 in that situation with 2 players in their back 10. Okay,
yeah,
it's something MNM, it's not new to them. Is those kind of rounds.
You know, they're kind of used to losing a 1vx every now and then.
Every now and then.
Or 2vx in that case.
But you want to minimize that on a major stage because that is a pressure, and it's also an energy boost to your opponents. Opponents that thrive off of being on this stage, as they've proven time and time and time again. The Nomad, quick pick as the response towards the run-outs and the jump-outs, trying to limit the play that MNM want to extort on this map.
And we're playing on a first floor site, and that means that this top floor is going to be crucial again to take into control for the side of W7M. Now, the RC Retiro is not going to be doing too much damage, but we did find out about one of the players being off-site in the laundry area, which of course will be used later on. Philippox already with a drone inside. It's going to be calling it out like this is clear. No one seems to be around in the reading room. Maybe we want to use that very soon if we put some extra pressure up on the top floor first.
Yeah, they're trying to get their lead in. They're still working coordinated, still bringing that joint pressure with the preparation of if you force the motion, I'll get the catch. Nath gonna hold himself with a bit more survivability there. Another burn, the flash at the wrong possible time. Nath is entirely full white, hasn't been caught out just yet, and this is a lot of utility for a single player. Nello gets Philippox in the meantime. Hertz is still watching for the rotate. That might have been the watch on the run out underneath as well, so they've got to be a bit more cautious of the pressure that can be applied here. And well, W7M, huge dedication to set a utility here, and nothing to show for it. Solotov, okay, I thought he was going to go for something very wild. Instead, it's less wild. Uses gets JV92 in the meantime.
Nello holding tight as well from the pillar. Knows there's someone coming in from the main door soon. Herds as well over the top floor, trying to gain some ground. The serial laser gate will stop them. Tyrant comes in, but he misses both shots. He gets punished for it. He does a lot of damage though, which means his teammates might be able to finish the job afterwards. Solotov still hiding up on that top floor in that freezer. All he needs to do is sit quiet, sit silent. 40 seconds counting down, 2 players up the top, 2 get taken down by Solotov. It's only up to KZ now in a 1v4. He's on the door of reading, needs to move through, takes a small amount of damage on the top. In the meantime, they're rotating around for him as well. It is gonna be uses with the shotgun in the end.
They were all around by the end. They were ready and waiting for him. As I said, MNM, they're a team familiar with 1vx's going away from them. They're also a team that has learned from that, thankfully. Or maybe taught how to avoid that by Julio, the man behind them who's been able to get them towards this stage. Changes he's been able to bring to their holes and the support he's been able to give the team. 3-2. MNM, they might be able to get themselves a positive end here towards the defending half, the first map, W7M's pick. And that would give them such a boon towards the chaos of border we're going to find ourselves in.
That's it for both these teams. They really want to be finding themselves with this first map pick, knowing how border plays out. It's not quite coastline, but there's still that element of aggression, the element of, you know, just being a paper-thin map. It could really go either way, depending on which team just has a little bit of a better gunning day than the other. As we head towards the kitchen, back towards the ground floor, it's the final round of MNM's defense.
5 seconds to go.
We're looking to lock it off with that 4-2 split to do the home crowd proud.
Moving to defuse the bomb.
I mean, that's the sort of thing with an EU crowd. You can tell who they're cheering for.
Or can we?
You get a vague idea.
It's just a slightly vague idea.
I think,
Seemed like there was a lot of Stars fans out there.
to be fair, we know where we're going for SI. We know what the crowd's going to be like there. Loud.
Yeah, very loud. Make sure that we beat that one in the 2 upcoming majors. Doubt that is going to go through. Right away. 20 seconds have passed, 40 seconds have passed. No real control yet from the side of W7M. It's just doing some prep work, opening up the hatches, sending in some drones, Geminis for information to try and see how clear the top floor is exactly, because we do, of course, have to go down all the way towards the first floor, all the way towards the kitchen. You do not want to get caught off by any of these roamers early on, because that just completely ruins the entire push you want to go for. Last time around, this was quite a close game. It was a 2v2, a single piece of information, and the missed opportunity on the cover was the reason why it was W7M's in the end. But MNM, they started off great. They managed to find the Ossa, which seemingly should have been like a pivotal point for the push to come through for W7M, which it just didn't get to utilize in the end.
Solotov is playing the dangerous game of find the fight through the steadily shrinking safe Avers you have below. He opted away from it. The drones are watching for the rotate. They have themselves this structured support, as they always have. The miss there on the catch on the player, the rebuild. Some of the structure above a minute, and they're kind of happy with the work that they've done. They're watching the loose players. They didn't want to have the same engagement they had before, so instead the freezer take. But a couple of steps out of range, concerned about being swung, but the first is a drop through the top. Solotov gone.
Make to come through, Tyron needs to move away, does that just in time. Instantly follows it up with a smoke canister just to make sure that the pressure is alleviated just slightly, because 40 seconds are left on the clock. That means W7M, they need to go for a push right now. Tyron strikes back for the first, but he's about to be struck from the back himself if it's for actually Tyron to go for a trade kill, I believe.
Herds, does he know about the player in coat check? He slips on by as Nafe just waits. There's the bulletproof, giving him the read to his right-hand side. He's ready to go for the fight as soon as able. There's the hot pings, there's the motion, but he needs to time this perfectly. There's the first that just misses the second. The pressure's onto Freezer in the same second as they set up the Talon shield, but look at the timer, 10 seconds, and they got to try and get this kill on the chassis first with no support structure. It's an engagement, he wins out. He's looking for the next, and it's Nafe on the back end. Herds holding all the cover here, and they're out of time. They've just got to stick the kit. Dropped on the swing, a 2 versus 1 post plant. It's a 1 versus 1 fight. There it is! The final step is for Nafe, and the first half is a 4-2.
Again, it was a half where we had loads of close rounds to come to an end. Swinging either side, but just a little bit more towards MNM. He's using their home crowd buff. And now are we swapping sides on towards the attack themselves. Kitchen seems to be the very first side we will be headed to. We quickly go over these replays again. Tyrant going aggressive, they're huge, but instantly receiving that pressure from behind by Herds, takes him down. It was for Nafe being hidden in that spot, which they just didn't drone out quite well, which eventually was the reason why they were able to get back into that round on the MNM side.
Well, it's an energy that's going to pick up the longer the day goes on.
Bomb located by attackers.
But now we get to this, the second half of this map. It's a game or two. And if MNM can get a good lead on, they can get a good read of the holes that W7M like to put in. Okay, it's a partially different roster. The time that Julio was on there, it has to be. It's a different roster he was on. But you're looking at the measure of a man who knows this team, knows how they plays, knows their headspace and head game better than probably anyone outside of the roster itself.
Yeah.
So what magic can he bring? What little spicy sauce is going to be the read-through, and what do W7M even change up to try and shake that game? Oh, there is one thing. Herds, an early pick onto Nafe.
Well, that's it, right? They need to play unpredictable. They need to play in a way where truly you cannot really predict what they're going to be doing. And sometimes these spawn peaks are the perfect way to start off with that. Just the early bit of aggression. Take one of these operators out of the equation instantly, you lose a bunch of gadgets, you lose a gun, and now have someone dedicated on the cams from the attackers. Solotov is pushing down, though. About to be running into quite some lines of sight. Needs to be very careful with how he threats his next couple of steps. Being watched by KZ. He's holding off on the red stairs. Nothing seems to be happening as of yet. The first minute has passed. Opening up verticality. C4s are being tossed in just to wait, just to see if there is going to be an opportunity to open up there for the son of MNM as well. And after that happens, it will be blown up. And then the big question is, have you caught the player?
This sort of later on push. The longer a round goes on, especially on a site like this, if you've not been able to do a lot of the hard work, and the hard work is the soft work on a kitchen site, shepherding the players and pushing them into a space where you can really get yourself in control against JV92 on this roll with a man disadvantage. Well, it's something that they've got to get quicker motion onto because it's very tricky to try and throw yourselves in and have a clean route, as proven in the most recent round that we've seen on this map. Tyrant wanted to do a bit of that work here, but they're not being handed anything. Just keeping himself tucked around onto the swing onto VIP. He's waiting for the fight to come down white, and well, as I say that, he opts for a very sneaky little bit of motion.
He's debating hiding in a bit of an off angle, one they might not really expect him to be in, especially if they do push down the freezer stairs later on, or the white stairs rather, or drop down the freezer. That might be beneficial. The trait kill comes through. 3v4, they seem to have been aware. Shut him down, but not without loss. And MNM right now are a man down as they still need to approach the kitchen itself. There is some slight dents made into the setup. Okay, he's taking out Solotov. It's not going to be the best of starts, especially if another one falls by the hands of Nate. It's only up to Tyrant, and he doesn't get far either. W7M start closing the gap 4-3.
Back and forth, 2 to 2 to 2. This is the first of maybe two. I guess it's always that extension here as the game goes on. Who's going to be the one that finally breaks the deadlock? Whether it's a pattern of 1 or 2, it's still a back and forth game. It's still one where nobody's able to get themselves a smooth enough run. Obviously, you know, you look at that round where it was the 4 versus 2 that went wrong, and the longer that MNM can't get that difference, the more they'll probably be frustrated by the results of that. You know, frustration there on the player's face for the on the run out. There it is, quick picked back, but at that point, as I said, when you're attacking down here, unless the players are very uncomfortable, you'll just get swung.
Next round then. W7M going to be able to completely close the gap, bring it to that 4-4. Or will we see MNM try and take steps towards that first map point? Looking at the lineups, of course they are subject to change. Up until now, they're locked in. Seeming like the Lion and the Doka beat might be used to either help one of these players in, like Solotov, playing on that Nuke already on a sneaky operator, could make some moves happen, or to be on the back of a larger push. Something from multiple directions, especially when you have information on the board. Make sure your swing will stick. Opening up some windows, nothing out of the ordinary. Filofox down below, still roaming around on that Mozzie. Has the opportunity to still catch a drone if he does get droned out. And that's maybe exactly what he's looking for as we speak. And as we push through, it's MNM just waiting patiently. E1D goes off, nothing really happening as of yet. However, JV92, he seems to be ready to go for a bit of an aggressive jump out if the opportunity presents itself. Minutes, smokes coming through, pings as well. Tyrant moving in from below. Is he aware of the player inside of reading? That's going to be the big question because he's about to be struck from the back. Yes, Philipbox finds him, and the entry will go to W7M yet once more.
They're trying to see if they can just get a handle, an angle here. MNM, they're leaning into the first engagement. They're leaning into the first fight and hoping that there is just something that they can pull out of the swing here of W7M. But that coordinated play that we've complimented before, that ability to move as if they are water and as if they are one, is one that is so hard for teams to pull apart and find a weakness and a weak spot on. Solotov is waiting for the catch. The Nooks got themselves tucked into a position. At this point, there is some chances of players getting close, but they're just not heading that direction. Felipox isn't too far away. They've got the player isolated. Nello's trying to force the motion, but Felipox isn't taking the bait or the bite.
Solotov coming in from the back though, gets found by Felipox and now has the opportunity to run out. The E1D pops instantly, tosses a C4 right afterwards to make sure he doesn't get chased. Users will find the kill with the grenade though. JV92 eliminated from the round. Nello waiting below. Still needs to go up one staircase to make sure that the diffuser can even reach the site. Felipox down below is that main issue. They're looking to chase down. Hertz from above though is going to be able to provide some security, finds users. Nello coming in next from the same doorway. Surely cannot go for success as well.
There it is. One bit back, but look, 30 seconds. How can they try and make this work here? They don't have the vertical control. They don't have the confidence to go for the hold here. It's a swing right into the smoke. The players are still, as I said, able to slip their way across. They're gonna have to just charge up, get caught out though, in the mess in the mix, and W7M once again pull themselves level.
The lead MNM was able to build up over the first half has just dissipated. These rounds are starting to seem a little bit more one-sided than some of the others we have seen. Those were really back and forth. Now it seems like MNM constantly on the back foot. Started off with Felipox here, turns off his phone. Tyrant seemingly unaware of it, gets picked up by him. Felipox then as well will be replying to a second and a third for the round.
10 seconds to go.
That leaves us in a 4-4 situation. Now 2 sides have been locked up, and that means there's only 2 more they can go to.
Will we seal 4 again?
We might.
We might.
It's reading first. So the mining is still yet to be played by the side of W7M.
Well, they've only played 3.
That's true. But like,
It would be weird.
That quaternary site really, like the other 3 we see a lot more. The forefront mining is a bit more of a statistical
10 seconds left.
to come through. So maybe not.
Will this be the first time W7M pulled themselves into the lead? It's the second time they've got themselves back level from a 2-round deficit. Neither team has been able to get rid of that sort of double shake. It's always the third. It's always that final situation of just breaking that deadlock. They refuse to let their opponents get themselves stretched to, and you know, maybe it's the considerations of the map. A 2-to-1 rotate isn't the most outrageous thing. It definitely feels like it's more the players' ability to bite at each other, and as I said, here is W7M's chance to really shift the momentum of this game. It does not start in their favor. Tyrant takes care of Herds. They went for something a bit aggressive potentially there, and they've paid the price.
All right.
Deploying call.
Getting the entry again finally after 3 missed opportunities, going to the way of W7M. Solotov now on the drone trying to go for the chase. Top droned in, but didn't really get spotted, so he tries to dig himself towards the side. A direct line of sight all the way through. Need to find someone somewhere. It's a train carriage now, spots one. Very difficult angle for him to grab though, especially with the lack of control up on the top floor. So that is something the rest of MNM needs to start working on.
The Nomad on their journey to the roof took a little bit of a shake of damage. Otherwise, fine to keep standing, and you can see they're trying to just piece together the whole, get the set, taste the drone angles on where the players are. As Nello starts to put the pressure across it, they get the rotate down towards the back end, but as long as KZ's in that position, well, it's not something that they can try and break their way through. They have to either force the players out from the back end, which has the structural support of those keeper barricades, or put the pressure here on the opposite side, on the quad wall. Moving past, the wall's still soft. There's Nade looking for the fight out the open door of it. Felipox takes a bit of a blow, takes a bit of a bite, a minute on, and all the pressure's starting to come through. The read and the support on that structure, and KZ, he now has to pay attention to 2 different angles. One to support the Capcan, there's no way to support the mute. They're gone alongside the Jaeger. And they're holding on to the best of their ability.
KZ going aggressive here, gets the pre-fire, actually does not connect. Solotov instead finds the kill. The second attempt on Philipox, hoping to find a reply. Will finally do that. The diffuser gets dropped, but instantly he drops himself as well. Nade now hidden in a corner. Gets shut down by Solotov and MNM. They stay or retake their lead.
2 rounds, 2 rounds, 2 rounds, 2 rounds. 1 round. 5-4. MNM, they keep themselves ahead, but just. And the problem now is just where do you go, W7M? Because it is the tertiary site. It is this third player place. It didn't come down to a diffuser plant, which we saw, obviously, W7M trying to force and strong arm their way through. It instead ended up with a firefight where MNM were coordinated. They had the angles, they took the pressure over the top, got that first engagement. Watch got the second follow through because W7M, I'm not gonna say they got impatient, but they got concerned. As I said, when you're trying to watch the approach, you're trying to watch, you know, the wall from mining that's starting to fall open in train room, when you're trying to then watch the quad wall onto the library side, you're having to pay a lot of attention.
Now some quick stats regarding the tournament performances of these two teams here so far. W7M, they are a defense-sided team. I believe it's a 75% defensive win rate. MNM, also defense-sided, as their attack seems to be a little bit weaker than average, with 48.8% of the rounds won they have played over this tournament so far. And that kind of makes you worry, right? Yes, they just got a round. That's great, but they need to find another one to put themselves on the map point, and then another one to get themselves across the finish line. W7M, they just have not really struggled with any of their defenses over this entire tournament so far.
Oh, Herds, what are you going to do on the back of this? Now, obviously, a Solus would be pretty perfect for this sort of position. It's nothing that MNM wanted to play against because the read on those claymores and the tricks you can do against them becomes a bit of a nightmare. Herds could, theoretically, get that removed with the C4 and then go for the run-out pressure, but it's a big bit of utility to cost, especially when you're a pulse underneath. So instead, sit and wait. KZ, he's also doing the same thing, but above the hatch, he's ready to sort of make a drop and, well, with the Flores drones getting themselves quickly in and quickly removing some parts of the utility.
Claymores are being repurposed here by the side of Solotov. They decided that they do not actually want to use this window, as a matter of fact. Him up and leaving the area again. Now Herds start focusing on whatever is happening right above him soon. Red stairs are being claymored off, making sure there is no W7M player just going through. Someone in the cigar shop. The reply is there though, so we stay in a 4v4, but KZ went undroned, unspotted, and finds a free kill to users.
Yeah, really bad missed moment there from the side of MNM. Luckily, they were able to get the instant response, but it's a little mistake, and little mistakes lead to big problems. We are well aware of that. Well, we're playing by audio for a second. Nade gets named with the C4. We're back, and Solotov is trying to find a fight here to get revenge, but the smoke is slowing him down. They've dropped. They've taken the hatch and rotated out of there. Nade does get picked up in the follow-through, but it's a 3 versus 3. They're just doing this fight for the vertical control. They're still going to try and put the pressure onto site and secure themselves.
Solotov up above, watching the little bit of verticality that's out there. Definitely will be struggling due to the fact that you died this early on. Philipox going aggressive here, gets spotted out, but a Gemini Replicator uses the smoke canister to stop the push from happening. In the meantime, the Ash breaches are being used as well to find a player down on the side, but nothing connects to him! The beam absorbs all the bullets, and Solotov is left without anything for that shot.
Rotate round on the back. They're able to catch the hatch drop itself. There's a second player, and they don't quite get that one, though. Solotov has to make the motion onto the site. There it is. Tyrant gets the down inside. They force the player off on the rotate. There's Herds to actually lock it off for technical 1 versus 1. They're trying to find the fight with the pistol. Swing the corner, no! W7M keep us level 5 apiece.
A very painful start to that round here for MNM. Again, not droning out that little bit of the corner that he was hidden in. Lost him the opening kill. And yes, the trade was there, but that could have been a free entry without any repercussions coming right afterwards. And as we head for round 11, we will get the first team to reach a map point right afterwards. Kitchen, the site we'll be headed to. The site where either of these teams is going to be upping the pressure on the opposite. Fiddle Push as well, playing inside Laundry there, basically unbothered for that first kill before he gets shut down.
I mean, down to the pistol run there, and it's always the worry. I think that's the sort of thing when you see that death on the back of not quite droning out that position, it also wastes a bit more time. They tried to make a bit of motion happen. You imagine that round if there was an extra 10 seconds for them to play around that 1 versus 1, and you know, I'm not going to say it's a different story, but it's definitely a different genre. Goes from a thriller into a action movie.
Could have for sure, like, you would have had more opportunities. Maybe you wanted to go for the plant in that case, deep inside a reading, force him to rotate out. Maybe you could have actually went for a reload on your main gun and take it a little bit slower on the push. Either way, what's done is done. As the yokai drones are being set up, I believe Nello might have actually just seen one jump up there. Quick opening into the freezer as there's no one there on VIP. The impact not quite successfully opening or destroying those Selmas. I'm not quite sure if the second got any of it, but an opening definitely has been made inside a freezer.
Oh, an opening's been made into KZ. Solotov gets the take from the window. Has themselves the cover and support. And remember last time they were trying to push this with the man disadvantage, and they found themselves struggling to force the players out of an engagement here. With that being in the first minute, they've bought themselves potentially a lot more time here that they can try and thread this pressure onto. Tyrant suffers a bit of a blow as Philippox rotates his way down as well. They're wasting and stretching the time. Herds isn't entirely out of the woods yet. He's more than happy to try and cause some problems here onto the Christmas doorway. Nello doesn't go for the swing. They're the man with the kit, they're the man with the heartbreak. Do not want to lose them to a risky 1 versus 1.
What a trade instantly to come through. Solotov gets down, JV92 as well. That means the recovery can be on. The phone call comes in, quickly taken care of by those on the site, but Herds is in bigger trouble as he's finding himself in site reading. Now, has anybody heard this? If anybody's close enough, it should be Tyrant. He's the one that's waiting right around the corner, but the drone will confirm indeed that if there was any suspicions, they were correct. And the E1D will keep him in place right now, allowing MNM to start pushing around to manage to take out Herds in a future couple of seconds.
Oh! Fantastic shot there from Herds. And there it is. It's a risky fight either way. They're putting pressure from above, but it's more time being wasted. Finally wasted out. Philippox wanted to offer some support. I mean, if they could have turned it from a 5 versus 3 into a 4 versus to a 3 versus, then suddenly it's an entirely different round. But a 4 versus 2, 1 kill, 1 kit recollected. Still, 2 Echo drones potentially on the board here for the read and the breakthrough. They've prepped the C4 as well. Not sure what the mute jammer in pocket's gonna do. I assume not a huge amount.
No. So, I'm trying to think of it. There's no no phone calls left anymore either, so no real point. Drones are starting to come through just to find one final bit of information.
The timer is low. And as we start to hear those dangerous pulses, Tyrant tries to push their way through, takes a bit of damage, pulls back, pulled off. They've thrown themselves into the opposite end. Philippox goes down. There's the second pickup. And I want to hear those chants. Tom J. Sherlock out in the crowd because MNM on W7M's map, on their first map on a major stage, they sit on map point.
Now, the first and the last round of a map and series are always the most difficult ones to lock in. Really way past that first mark. Now it's going to be that last one they need to try and lock off. 6-5. Map on the cards here for MNM. One opportunity before we head over towards an overtime situation. They want to prevent that. They want to go to border right now.
6-5. W7M. As I said, it's not that they have the cleanest record on Kafe, but they have a pretty good one. They have a pretty good record on border as well. In fact, they're kind of confident on it. It's a strange one. Over the past, year or so, well, over this year, let's say it, from the start of the year, we've seen MNM play border 4 times. They've won it twice. We've seen it played by W7M 8 times. They won it 4 times. It's this very balanced battleground that W7M do not want to go into on the back foot of their map going away from them.
It's quite literally a coin flip at that point. You go either way depending on who has the better day or just who has that little bit of extra momentum. Either way, we still have this map to lock off, and Solotov droning himself in. We'll find out there's not too much pressure all around his side, but look at that, KZ is looking for his jump in there. That's the entry kill. W7M, they find themselves with a very important player taken out on the MNM side.
Still get a read in. Bottom of the white stairs, and Tyrant on the Ash is going to see if they can try and make some magic. JV92 is watching. At what point does W7M get the full read on this play and player? They seem to be very aware the calls come around the corner, and JV92 is not going to answer. Instead, he's going to sort of say, look, I know you're there. You have to go somewhere else. But this grenade doesn't. Uses through the drone hole with all the attention paid onto Tyrant. The tyranny was elsewhere.
Still not a grenade in pocket for users. If they manage to find a target for that one, just as well take back the number advantage they lost in the very early parts of this round. Quickly droning out, doing the job Solotov was doing before, realizes someone is going to go for the push on him. Both missed the opportunities to strike true, and Nade rotates back around, playing on the hatch himself now.
Tyrant takes a bit of damage just outside the windows. They still have a lot of structure on the opposite end, so this is going to turn into a bit of a bloodlust push here for MNM, as they're still kind of internal. They're underneath. They're fishing for fights from less conventional means than the standard take that they went for and failed before. Tyrant on the upside down rappel and looking for this eastern front, looking for this eastern fight. There's the player tucked just round on the corner. The grenade misimpacted. They've hopped themselves up here, so they're safe from that pressure underneath. W7M aren't going to hand MNM that easy a body after the first grenade error.
The shadows are given away where these two MNM players are. They know there's one on either window. Tyrant low, Nello full, but with the kit. As soon as either swings in, they will be pushed instantly, swung instantly. Tyrant already receiving some gunshots his way. They need to make a move stick, MNM, and you need to make it stick now.
KZ with a long arm rifle and a long arm range here, and look at, once again, the time. Nade gets Nafe. 4 versus 3, looks away at the worst time. The call comes through, and JV92 has it cool. There's one more. Tyrant with 4 players to get through, can't see any. We will go to OT on our first map.
To make the play stick. Coming in from all the window repels, it's a risk. Lack of control, really. We rarely see those plays work. You need a bit more of an advantage at that point, right? You need to have the body balance to go your way, otherwise they could just swing out as soon as they hear the repel sound come through. It's W7M that continues onto their defense. It's a side that has been favored throughout this game so far. Oof, that's very painful. But afterwards, everything was just repels, and
it was a lot of repels. It was a lot of MNM trying to find a route through. It's the struggle we've seen on their attack so far. So this round, with them continuing on their attack, is very important. You're looking at reading. You're looking at one of the sites that MNM were able to take through here. So W7M opting to go back here. I'm curious how the read was, because when we were here before, it was very well taken by MNM. They got themselves in onto the back, they put the pressure around, and then they widened it. And whether W7M are going to see if they can set something up more around pillars and stop that route through, that MNM, I'm not going to say it's been free for them, but a lot more casual than the rest of the map.
They've definitely been able to make quite some ground there indeed. It's important that we do see the little bit of adaptation coming down from both these teams, really. Seeing the Twitch come out, we've seen quite a bit of it. It's actually Shock Drone trying to deal a lot of damage out here. Found one default chem. Spots that the second doesn't quite want to take any shots, but takes down the Goya pocket, more importantly.
Yeah,
buys him some extra time later on.
Exactly. It's a more important bit of utility there. You take the camera, you never know if that'll get red. It's a big knee. So instead, as you said, Goyo, because you look at time, you look at that being a precious resource, you look at it being not one that's costed them rounds, but one that's definitely made things riskier. The hot drones roll their way through the Nook, obviously can move very silently, but not entirely against all the odds in motion that's otherwise being put. Solotov wants to try and find this lead in fight. As that fire sort of forces him back round, Felipox does not want to find it. The cover on the back end, look at all these repel players. The longer you're here, the riskier it is.
There's really 3 players watching that repel, right? Like we had 2 out on the top floor into the plane, so we have one down below with a nitro cell in pocket. MNM, you cannot really go this way. There's 90 seconds on the clock. You need to have some control relatively quickly now so you can still open some up on that top floor, because none of that is happening right now. They're just trying to fight themselves away into the building, and it's only really Solotov that's chasing someone down, but he's always one step behind, it seems. And there he finds the opportunity to go for the fight, but he misses every single shot that he's able to exchange.
And this is all attention. There's support coming from behind, but he doesn't need it. That is a big blow here for MNM. Solotov gone. You've lost that player, the Nook, for all the hot droning and the effort before, and well, you don't really have anything to tell from it on the back end. They've still got their structure. They've still got the danger around the map, and you've still got these MNM players, Saddam repels, waiting, wishing for somebody to get into position. Tyrant, he wants to be the next snapshot here through. But as Nello is the one maneuvering the kit, just misses another little gift, another little opportunity. There it is, cut across the top. There is a fight that's about to happen, but with 20 seconds left, stuff has got to happen quick. KZ, he roots his way through. He's somehow able to win it out. Takes the vertical from users. 14 seconds now, and MNM with the kit up top and with players dying below. Nello, you got to put a shifty on, mate. 7 seconds, the drop on the hatch is caught by a shotgun. And they read the first fight round, but this time, the literature was in Portuguese.
A timeout will be called by MNM. And I think rightfully so. There is some stuff to talk about here. They're too slow over these last couple of rounds. The window executed in round 12 didn't really work out. This time around, again, a lot of pressure out on those windows upon the repels, not really taking any control up until the time was almost already fully run out. They need to be a bit more assertive. They need to take a bit more ground if they want to give W7M a fight for these last 3 rounds. Because it has been a very tough fight so far already. It's just that MNM have kindly slowed down these last 2 rounds, it seems.
And if this map does go away from W7M, it'll be the first map they've lost this tournament.
Yeah, they're on a 7-map win streak right now.
Pretty good streak.
5 in this tournament and 2 in like the qualification way they came through.
It's a pretty good streak.
Pretty good streak.
And obviously, as 2 Phase 1 teams, as I said before, you couldn't have taken a more different approach here. MNM, it would be added to the 5 games or so that they've lost so far. One of them was Kafe. And the score on that versus G2 was 7-8 to G2. Can this be the difference? Because, well, at this point, it has to be.
That's it. They're 2 rounds away from finding themselves with a map 1 in their pockets. They're also 1 round away from losing that first one. It's now going to be W7M that has the opportunity to go for that lockout that MNM had in round 12, but were unable to convert. We'll be headed towards the mining room again. The site they chose in the very first round, MNM, when they were on the defense. Choosing to go back there again, hoping they'll be able to replicate the success they had back in round 1, 12 rounds ago.
MNM, I mean, they've been able to get themselves some good momentum on their defense. As you said, it felt like it was a while ago. And it was. But it was a half that they were able to lead on with 4-2. Oh, that 1 round is still going to haunt them a bit, but
yes,
if they can try and make it up now and then push on to the next, that can be the difference maker here. W7M, they've obviously just had some time to get their heads back into this game. They found themselves for the first time ahead of the pressure, the situation they've not been in at all throughout this showdown.
Quick openings to be made. Tyrant slowly starting to fall back already. They're going to be holding on too tight to Piano here. They're ready to give that over to W7M. Fiddlefox opening up some of these Kafe barricades as well. The fire will come through, but it's a bit too late. Tyrant already managed to run past before any of that happened, and now receiving the pressure out from the balcony down below.
Solotov goes down. Hertz is able to get that first engagement. They weren't quite able to get everybody fled off the top, and with this, the player playing just above the hatch drop, Nello has taken a big risk. And sure, it was something that struck against them before, but they've been able to drift their way to the opposite side. They're still droning, they're still putting pressure on it. They're gonna find him sooner rather than later, and late enough as Nello rotates his way out and does not want to have themselves in the 5 versus 3. Now losing Solotov, sort of talisman player for the team throughout this. The Warriors the first in, but luckily for them, Users and Nafe have also been having a fantastic game.
That's for sure. There's multiple players that are MNM stepping up right now to make sure they can continue. Nello and KZ holding off both on the red stairs. Different floors, different sites. Now they're giving each other a single opportunity to find opposing player. Definitely made aware of his position now as the shotgun starts blasting through the wall to create himself an opportunity to rotate in just a little bit, but 50 seconds left, Demi. Flashbangs are starting to go through. It is going to be W7M trying to go for an execute here.
Look at this difference in how they catch them. It's Tyrant trying to swing his way up the stairs, but for what was a repel game is an internal one here. Nafe gets 1. In the meantime, Users gets 2. There's the 3rd! And they cannot get the diffuser down, but they don't need to! Almost bit back by MNM, but it's W7M that are the ones able to just about close out their map pick and angle up towards border as the 2nd.
I see a bit of that difference there in those last 3 rounds. MNM, way too passive. W7M took the initiative, but we are headed to a very quick break before we're back with map number 2.
Now I do. Okay.
Yeah.
Test.
We are live again here in Copenhagen, and map number 1, a hard-fought victory. But it's W7M to take it away from MNM and prep us for map number 2. Before we talk about that second map, let's debrief our first one. Welcome back to the desk. I'm Milosh. With me are Ann and Fresh. I gotta say, MNM really do like to take the long way around. But W7M, beautiful performance.
Exactly, yeah. A round win for them on their own map pick, as kind of expected usually coming into a tournament like this. And yeah, MNM had a pretty good start, but there were these rounds as well, and you have to mention it, where they had the 4v2 advantage, and then they managed to lose the round. It happened 2 times in a row as well. That's A, a mental breaker, and B, very good from the side of W7M to be able to fight themselves out of such a man deficit.
I think these two teams outclassed each other in different ways. I think MNM actually strategically won that game and should have had it done 7-3, 7-4, that kind of scoreline, because they played very, very comfortably on the defense, should have won every single defense, and some of their attacks were pretty good. But W7M outclassed MNM in 2 departments, was in the shooting department and the recovery department, where they, you can look at it as MNM throwing 2 4v2s and a 2v1. You can also look at it as W7M winning those. I think that mid-round explosiveness, and particularly, Herds, who had an excellent day on Kafe. Sometimes that just happens to you, where Herds has a bit of a life game, a life map. But it's a consistent theme with MNM, and I think that's the worrying part, is that they should have had this map done and dusted. And they should be going on to their own map pick right now, but they let W7M have a sniff, and W7M took everything, taking the map off them.
Even on their own defenses for W7M, their positioning was very good. They were able to put themselves in these spots where MNM didn't really have the information on where the players were. They were led to face check, and that led to W7M players easily winning out the gunfights where someone wasn't even looking at them when they were taking that engagement with them. Not all the time, but in some engagements. I talked about the entries coming into this game for MNM. Entries were kind of 50-50, but I feel like the first half, entry conversion just was not there for neither team, really. But once we got onto the defense of W7M, that's where the entry conversion for both teams were actually really successful.
Jack, how does this break MNM? Or does it really?
I mean, this is typical MNM. We've been here before, where they should win, rounds or maps, but they have this kind of soft underbelly where they do end up losing them. I think, especially when Solotov, especially on their attacks is, it cost them a little bit there. When Solotov's not the one that's making those plays and winning those rounds, they unfortunately, don't have a lot of substance in terms of pinching them, defenders as a team. And I think for MNM, the one good thing that they've got is they've got a lot of rounds in at this tournament. They've been here before. They've been in this precise scenario before, where they need to win 2 maps back-to-back to stay in the tournament.
Now, Nath, Yuzu, Solotov really showing up. Nello, we've had this at times where he's the one that's calling, but also it's a detriment to his own stats in the server.
Yes, it doesn't help if you're going certain stat ways, but it does help if you have the, the cohesion and you work with that. A player I wasn't expecting to perform like this, for example, Nath. Feel like he's more on the back line, but he's really stepped to the front line now. But that's what happens if you have a player that doesn't really show up, doesn't get those entries. There are players that need to recover that then.
Jack, anybody really surprising you on the scoreboard?
I mean, I was just looking at the scoreboard down. I'm seeing, Nello and Felipox at the bottom of the scoreboards for their respective team. But the difference is Felipox is 7-13 and Nello was, 2-12, whatever it was. It's a big difference, and I think that is, something to highlight is, and it plays into that on the attack, is if these big gunners on MNM are not quite finding it, we saw a couple of rounds where Soltov's gone in a window and died, a couple of rounds where Tyrant's walked in a doorway and died. When they're playing from behind, especially on their attack, they don't have that pinch on. They rely on a lot of individual opportunity spotting, and when it's not quite working, that's where they struggle. Something
to think about when these teams go back to reset, because W7M would have also liked to clean it up a bit better than the way that they did in OT, though. And Fresh, thank you very much. For those watching, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, it'll be time for Map 2.
I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, Tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems, I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? Don't hang with it who line for nothing. I see that we different, you riding, I double. I don't do discussions on bragging about hundreds. Don't go to your places, I know that they sunken. Don't call me your brother, I barely could trust it. I talked to a shorty, she bagging the bucket. And I'ma need all of my dollars on corporate, so hand me the money, I divvy the pie. I'ma give all of my people a portion to build them a fortune on flipping the ride. I can't be mixy when iffy the vibe, and 40 on 50 is really the time. Why are you all on my phone like you want me, like you wasn't pushing the kid to the side? I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling.
I remember things 7 years ago.
Naquela época, tudo era menor.
Mais en chacun d'entre nous, la flamme brûlait déjà.
Über die Jahre sind wir zusammengewachsen.
Y hoy son millones los que nos apoyan.
皆さんの応援は我々の原動力です。
Ve sevdiğimiz işi yapmamıza olanak sağlıyorsunuz.
และสิ่งเหล่านี้จะเป็นไปไม่ได้ถ้าหากเราไม่มีพวกคุณ
Devemos tudo isso a vocês.
Därför vill vi säga gracias.
Obrigado ขอบคุณครับ
Danke.
Arigato.
Kiitos.
Merci.
From the bottom of our hearts, thank you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's Blastar 6 live in Copenhagen on the forum itself in the city center. Hello, welcome to the desk. I'm Milos, with me are Anne and Fresh. We got just a few more minutes before map 2 of our series continues. W7M is facing off against MNM, and we last left you off on Kafe Dostoyevsky with a victory for W7M going to overtime. And now we set our sights on border. And numbers, do they back it up? Do they back up a 2-0 win for W7M?
I think initially it could have, yes. If you look at the map pick for MNM, pick in border, it's a 50-50 map for them. You could think, why would you pick such a map? You have a loss against FaZe on this map earlier this tournament. Arguably, they should have won that game. Maybe MNM feels like they could have done better. They had a 4-2 lead on that map too. And then if you look at if you look at W7M on this map, my point was going to be about Sonics. They played this map against Sonics and arguably struggled the most against any other opponent that they should have done. On average, W7M drop around 3.5 rounds against their opponents. Against Sonics, they dropped 7. So that's way more struggling than they did against other opponents. So I guess this is the reason why MNM picked it. They feel like they can beat W7M because they struggled, and they feel like they maybe should have won the game against FaZe as well.
I mean, MNM finally get on the stage. It can't just end in a 2-0, Jack. There has to be a light at the end of the tunnel.
It can't just end 2-0. And the one thing that I will say is they are also getting the preferred side on their preferred map as well. Because both of these teams, they've played border once, as Anne said. When MNM played border, they were proficient on the defense. They were very good against FaZe on the defense on the day. I'd just say, should have won. Same as that previous map, should have won, but for fewer through rounds. Now, W7M, when they played border against Sonics, they loved the attack. So it's going to be very interesting to see that first 6 rounds, because you've got W7M who love attacking border and MNM who love defending border. So I think we'll have a pretty good idea in those first 6 rounds. I think if MNM come out dominantly, then the map could well go MNM's way.
Who are we looking at from MNM to save the day?
Oh, it's Solotov. Of course it's Solotov. It's always Solotov. But again, the last time MNM played it, he was like 14-1 after like 5 rounds.
Yep.
He loves this map, especially starting out on the defense.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. He had a bit of a slower few rounds after that, so we're also looking for them to keep up that performance. If they have this good start of the game, keep that performance up as well.
Well, thank you very much. And in fresh, Copenhagen, are you ready? There you go, map 2, border, W7M versus MNM, or casters, Happen Fluke. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Milosh. And yes, we are headed towards border, a paper-thin map filled with action, explosions, everything you can wish for these two teams. They could just as well be the last for MNM.
That's a worry. That's a worry when we've obviously already had one of those Latin American teams from earlier on the day make their way through. Will this be the second? Well, it's a close fight on a first map with a couple of, I don't want to say trademark MNM moments of 1vx's going away from them, but it's ones that bite a lot worse. Here on this stage, they were close. They could have and maybe should have taken it. And they'll know that more than anyone. Will it be the fire they're needing to get themselves over the line here onto border?
Now, when we had them in a little bit of a break, they were right in front of us to our left front here. You might not see it. You will probably not see it.
Well, you won't see it.
You won't.
It's behind the stage.
Exactly.
That's how that works.
But we saw them go quickly over the next steps out here. Nello waiting for everybody as they walk back up on the stage just to give them all an individual fist bump and pep talk, just to get them back into it here. As the bands are starting to come through, the first is MNM's. I have been removed.
Bye-bye. See you later. Any Flores cosplayers out in the audience? Bye-bye. Just gonna let the audience play that now.
Yep. Ying.
I mean, Ying being removed here, it's a short, sharp map. It's a short, sharp fight. You sort of have the opposite end of Kafe, which is one built around slow and steady approaches. You take your time and you have to. It's a heavy teamwork-driven map. Here, border can be so quick.
It is very quick indeed. And as we see the Valkyrie to be removed as well, a very, very normal ban nowadays, and of course very powerful with the amount of clutter that's around on a map like border. We have one more to go for. And it is going to be the Azami.
Fair enough. I saw the shots that were pulled off in the previous map.
Yeah, so have I, yeah. It's good to be removed for them on the long run here. Now, I have one worry though, Emmy, and that's the fact that when MNM was on their final couple attacks, they slowed down too much. What?
You just said you have one word?
One worry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I thought you said a lot of words there.
No, it's one worry. More words.
One worry. More words. And they did, and you had that comparison in the final round. So having the sort of back-to-back attacks. MNM, they were holding those rappels. They were sort of waiting outside the building and trying to catch the loose players. W7M did that, but inside the building. They were holding the top of the stairs. They had Nello cornered. If they're on a rappel the same way MNM was doing it, they wouldn't have got that kill. They would have had a freer rotate here. It's not so much a problem on Border because Border is kind of all internal and external at the same time. It's so dangerous.
Might as well just not be walls there.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be a couple of sets of stairs and some fights. And that's maybe the setup that can go against it. So, MNM, will that aid you a little bit here? W7M opted to start on their attack. They want to try and get this done, and fair enough. And you look at this lineup, you're thinking Ossa, you're thinking shields and smokes, you're thinking a sneaky plant to Archives.
Now, Warden on the board, the Orcs is on the board. Those two operators might have something to say about that. We also have a Nitro Cell in the pockets of Tyrant is playing on that mirror. Sneaky plants, they usually work in like the first couple of rounds. If you start repeating them, that's when teams become more and more aware of them. But it seems like MNM are already quite on point of realizing what could happen having these operators out there. You often call it a main operator or main character warden.
Yeah.
Gonna keep that here, especially for a push like this potentially to come through.
Quick control over the stairs and quick pressure onto JV92. He's trying to get himself the angle up towards the half wall, but there is a response that's meeting him, and that is this map. That's what I mean by you're going to find yourself in firefights before you even start to get set up inside. W7M cannot play that game the same way on Kafe that they played so expertly and maybe won them the previous map. Here's the drive. Directly underneath. They got to force out that player so they can go for the plant, the pressure, and the catch on the smoke. Solotov getting KZ. The first is theirs. Once again, they're watching it rotate. Nafe isn't going to take it, but he doesn't really have much wiggle room because the Buck might have just rotated underneath. See W7M, they're just trying to force the players away from that Archives plant.
It's the right thing to do. You gotta do a bit of shepherding here, move them around and about. Find yourselves with a kill for your efforts, but for now, MNM standing by, not giving away any space here. E1D pops. It's just rotations coming around from the side of W7M. There's no one actually actively being hunted out here, but Nade on a rotation towards the Archives door. Might be trying to find himself in an opportunity to go for a plant in just a little bit.
Is in the meantime crept his way and angling towards 90. Wants to fight, and it depends if MNM get a little bit too antsy. It's the side of Nello in a scrap and a scrape, but cannot get himself any further along because he doesn't want to just be swung from multiple angles. It was a deep dive caught in a camera that he couldn't quite get. Locked off with the response. They've had to pull the Ossa far away, and they're kind of re-evaluating the take here, going for the long-range fight. Nade finds Nafe in the meantime, and there's the quick fight back. Solotov. The Doctor is in, gets himself back to full health, and Hertz gets himself back down here towards 90. Wants to swing onto Beeper's wall, cannot see any of it. Because Tyrant swings out wide. Felipox, he's trying to get inside the door, gets one. Solotov gets one right back, and MNM open up with the defense.
First bit of aggression working out for them, and as Fresh mentioned on the desk, they need to get a couple of rounds in a row here. Just start off quite strong so they have the opportunity and the certainty that they are able to get this map under their belts. Of course, they played at this tournament as well. 5-7 loss against FaZe.
Yep.
Is always going to be in the back of your minds. Another team that's already inside the semi-finals. W7M one leg in right now, looking for a second.
In terms of playing it against EU teams, W7M, they played it against Koi at SI, lost it in Max OT 6-8. They also, once upon a time, played it against G2 and Heroic. That was all the way back in Charlotte and Berlin. So that was, I mean, it was a different team, obviously at SI, but it was a very different team there, especially with obviously what went down at Charlotte.
Yeah, for sure. Circumstances that didn't really aid them in the.
I wouldn't say it aided them.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I would agree.
It didn't really aid them. Because otherwise, you know, there might have been like a top 4 teams in the majority of the majors last year, right? It's like they got so close, even though with everything that was going on. First nets to be set up. How effective will they be? Always the question. Also some Capcan traps, but those will quickly be swapped out by the Brava clutch drone.
Crime.
Crime has been committed. Thievery.
Will it pay off?
Oh, another one.
Ooh, they're taking so much. That one is probably the more dangerous one. Obviously, it's rare to go for the rotate there onto the double. That's meant to stop the rush through. If you're that sort of player, I mean, that ground is kind of at maximum danger from the beginning. Nella just removes them anyway. He's not going to play around with the risk. The other one, though, right under the hatch, it is a rotate that some teams take, and it's one where you can sometimes drift too close into it. AZ takes a bit of damage through the door and the swing, enough to survive. There's the frost mat tucked underneath. Salatov also loses a big chunk of health. He wants to try and find a route out, and as the grenades start to fall, that's a very wise decision. Pocket reinforcement gets popped, and they've wasted a minute so far.
Getting out of there, doesn't want to stay in the fight longer than he has to. Tyrant now thinking the same as well. The wall around him is starting to open up, and thus he'll decide it's time to move. Spots out a drone, doesn't really want to go for an engagement. It's just to make sure if he has been spotted on his move outwards, and that wasn't the case. User still holding tight though around in the office with that. Doc has the opportunity to heal himself after the fight to get the very first. Swallow's going to be opened up, and he's not going to try and challenge it. Drops down.
In the meantime, Salatov gets dropped by Felipox. They don't keep their body advantage for very long. They also don't get to keep the vertical. There is one more. Nafe takes care of KZ over the top. It's a big gun and a big gun are removed twice in a row without being able to have a big impact. They still have the softs. They still have a grenade, though. They still have a lot of time to try and construct their route through onto it. Herds is watching and waiting. Inside, the three of them have that vertical control. There is still a player up top on the far end of Armory that's just going to sort of wait for the right moment to strike. They are not being intently pressured. They're not being intently droned out. The players underneath are, though.
Nave has not been spotted, though, and he's still hiding around in the towers, so if they do go a bit too aggressive out there, they might be able to find him as he just finds one. Felipov's trying to go for at least something over the top floor. Nade out there inside the bathroom won't connect either, and it's just scrappy gunfights all over the place.
I mean, top to bottom, the worlds are being rocked. Felipox is Nello. No. Nello taken off with the swing round, but a lot of time wasted. Oh, Nave! No!
Time I said it!
Nave hiding in plain sight, and the sight is theirs. 2 rounds in a row for MNM. In the previous map, they were unable to get more than 2. Will this be the first time as they head onto their third defense here on border?
They've definitely looked a lot more confident in these last 2 rounds in terms of the way they locked him out, if compared to like any of Kafe, right? Like these just no real pressure coming down onto the side, able to just, you know, win those gunfights out quite comfortably. The trades are working out as well. As we head towards the bathroom tellers now, it's W7M that needs to find a reply. They're 1 leg into the semi-final already. They are just looking to make that next step. MNM hoping to hold them back just enough so they can give themselves an opportunity to go third as well.
Now the reactions here for MNM, much more calm, much more controlled after their round wins. You compare them with the first, and obviously there's a different bout of pressure, but there was a lot of hype, and it's kind of that mixed bag here. Is that one of the conversations they had? Look, we know our game. We know we're on a major stage, but to be honest, we play sometimes cooler and calmer when we're not thinking about that. We know the job that needs to be done here. That's the experienced voices that you need to sort of pop off with that. That's Julia, that's Yanello conversations. I mean, the man lives around a 1 versus 4 clip from Tokoname. The man has been so close to the death now. He can definitely try and offer some words of wisdom, and Julio maybe has the wisest words of anybody in the whole scene. Sorry, Fred.
I agree with you on that one. It's definitely been around for a very long time in many different roles. And that experience will definitely help these younger players. Openings to be made into customs. It's not going to be too worrisome if you're looking at the site for MNM. Salatov spending quite a lot of time outside areas. I want to make sure this is in the exact right area.
40 seconds. Ooh, Tyrant. He's got a read. He's gone for the...
there's
one! He confirmed the kill. He didn't swing up to the second, but there is somebody coming in for the pressure underneath. The P90. It's very powerful at this range, and they're well aware. The rotate over the top is Tyrant's to take. And he was a player that wasn't quite able to get fully activated. He's up, and then he's knocked right down. before the dot can kick in. Philippox gets a bit of revenge, but you look at the two names that he's taken off the board. KZ and Herds have defined games before, and they have not been able to get into this. Solotov as well! And MNM, they find themselves in the 4 versus 1 with 1:30. Philippox is a player who joined a very powerful roster, but I have the news that they're going to spend a lot of time talking, because this round from MNM has made W7M go, uh-oh.
Scratch that. No timeout coming in.
They cancelled it. I got the call there was, and then there wasn't.
Because they have 1:15 to talk now, and it's going to be Philippox to find the first. Finds Nave. Still has about 60 seconds left to make something happen, and, you know, MNM, you're kind of known for losing 1vx's, but I'm pretty sure this one should be within your reach of locking off. You've been quite comfortable so far on this map. As Philippox drops inside the waiting room. He's looking to isolate angle. Spots one! And gets shut down by Solotov. 3-0 to MNM.
And again, calm, cool. The performance that you need from this roster right now, and obviously their map, they're on the half that W7M wanted to play. Trying to lead in here with their attack. And yeah, obviously we had the call and the cancel call of the timeout, because it all happened so fast. They had the minute to talk about it there as well. And it almost reminds me, you know, we talk about players starting to activate. The best comparison for Tyrant is, remember on the previous map where there was 2 bodies in front of him and he shot down the middle, a mistake we all make. This time he was locked onto one. This time that focus of, I'm gonna go for this single kill and get out of there, that is something that we just did not get from them on the first map. And that is where that team talk has led them.
Get a good call there. Sometimes you get a bit greedy, you got the first injure, and then, you know, some players, they'll decide to go for the second, do not finish it off. You lose that gunfight at that point, you basically lost the entry, they can go for a pickup. So the right call made there. And again, a very comfortable round for MNM that they will be continuing their lead with, as they're now at 3-0. Again, continuing again back towards that top floor. Armory will be the site we'll play. And this is one of those sites, not quite like CC, because there has been some changes, but everybody basically has an idea on how to attack this. And it seems like W7M, they want to go a bit quick here. Herds already finds himself in site tellers. He'll be finding himself in a spot where he could either go for, you know, grenade down below later on, or they might start pushing up the east stairs and see what they can make happen from there on. They need to open up that wall first, and that's what Philippox is here to do.
Ready to rock and roll. The grenade right under the player. Won't quite get the catch because they got themselves towards these stairs, but that'll give the call that they're right underneath me. And KZ is right on top as well. This is a coordination we haven't quite had from W7M before. They've been able to get in, lead with the first foot, and get that first body down. Users, he's kind of hoping for a fight of his own engagement. He wants to try and shake some of the momentum out and strike them, but Hertz is watching and waiting. It's that cautious internal game. I highlighted it as a big strength of W7M on Kafe, and I said it's going to be trickier to make work here on Border. They're trying to find a way to force it, though.
Users has been spotted and thus will rotate out. Doesn't want to stick around and find out what will happen to him if he does. And as this drone beautifully placed, is going to be giving away so much information to the side of W7M. The office take is about to commence. They do not have a talent shield to try and make a plant happen later on, then the rest of MNM is starting to reinforce themselves inside that office as well, as they're reinforcing up the last couple of walls and making sure that, well, if you were to be out there, you might be challenged for it.
C4 doesn't get the kill, but Solotov does, and it does stop the hard breach through. Solotov, with the cover and the dock, with the power that they have, can try and take these elongated engagements. KZ on the roll of the ace to seeing if they can crack their way across the top. There it is, breaking the breach. Nello once again in a dangerous position here, hoping to get a strike through, but it's Nade that instead takes care of users on the back end. 50 seconds, W7M is making sure that they keep the pressure on and across. There's the spray through, and Solotov for a second preps the run and the hop out. KZ stepping up, stacking up. Does he know about Nello, who's in maybe once again still the most dangerous place? Oh, I don't think he does. KZ gets dropped and dropped further, but there's JV92. with a quick response to 2 versus 2, 20 seconds. And the pressure of the darts over on the side. Nade, he wants to swing into the fight and he finds the first. It's Nade first the world right now. There's the first engagement. He tucks for the second and gets himself into box. 14 seconds, Nade. He's gonna go for the plant once again. There's the read on the bulletproof, the motion and the spray through. He doesn't go for the bait. He goes for the... Oh! Hold your arms up and play to the crowd. 4 rounds in a row. And that is more than either team has been able to manage today so far.
Definitely the closest round we've had so far, though. W7M really able to make something work here. A great first take over the ground floor, gaining some ground, and KZ finding Tyron, maybe by a bit of luck as he was opening up the window, but the timeout now has been called by W7M. After they just lost that one. They started to gain some momentum in that round, but now to drag it across the finish line. Nay for the beautiful 1v2 in the end.
Hey, remember that statistic that you threw out about Solitov on Border? Was it you or was it the desk?
I think it was a desk.
Ah, sorry, I gave you credit there. For
I know what the statistic is of
the statistic was a vague...
Liking this map and always being on the top of the scoreboard.
Oh, something like a 12-2.
Yeah.
He's currently
but that was after 4 rounds, so he's slacking, right?
He's slacking.
He's slacking.
He's only on an 8-2. He's only on a 4.0 KD.
Yeah.
I mean, it's impressive. It's a performance. To be honest, you know, in the first map, it wasn't that he was lacking. He's been so consistent, so powerful. In fact, obviously, by the start of this series, MNM had played 15 maps. W7M had played 5. Even if you took the top killers, KZ, from W7M and Herds, and multiplied their kills by 3, they would still be about 20 short of what Solitov has been able to put down. He has had a phenomenal tournament so far, and I mean, it's something that you've always wanted to see from the player.
MNM, you've just lost your first map, then you found 4 rounds in a row. It's kind of the duality of a team here. Can they continue that? Can they bring it to 5, maybe 6 last half to go at it? Really rub it in W7M's face there that they are here to play Border and they're here to find themselves on a 3rd map. It's definitely, if you're headed into a 3rd map, but decide a map on the back of like a 7-1 or a 7-2 loss, that's going to be hurting. Really bad.
Well, there's the breakthrough. They're going to see if they can get the impact. Fortunately, not. A bit too low. They wait for that opener, and it does get the rest. So they only have the angle for now, and with 1 more Selma in pocket, is it worth it on this wall? It's the thing about this map, there's not a huge amount of hard destruction. Now, there's not a huge amount of Herds. 0-5 has really just been locked out of Border. It's going to be something that hurts W7M. As I said, he also played a fantastic tournament. I think the 3rd highest rated player at the start of this. Yeah, it's going to do a little bit of damage to that statistic.
KZ jumping in, it's going to be challenged. Solitov will find him. Shuts him down, so does Tyrant. 2 players left in W7M. And one is about to be swung out here as Philopox is making his way into the archives. Of course, it's not the side, he still needs to go down a floor, but he's about to be swung, misses the first opportunity. C4 will be caught as he catches Solitov as well. Brings it back to a 2-on-4 for W7M.
Yeah, Solitov really wanted to try and dip there, and he could have played that C4 a bit further away, but with the further away being underneath him, it just seems W7M don't quite have that pinpoint awareness on players they had before. JV92, he's about to walk into a fight, and he wins it out. Fantastic swing there to the head of users. And now as they finally get eyes towards the site on their attack here, a 3 versus 2. They don't have the vertical control at this point. They don't have the player inside the bathroom, but they might be able to win it out and put themselves even half. It's Nave trying to find the engagement, but with the support of Nello and Tyrant getting 1 more, he's far from alone. 5 rounds in a row for MNM.
Trying to listen to what they chant out there. It's a bit louder. But MNM 5-0. Bathroom tellers to be the last site they want to go to here. Oh, he's just making a little hole with used afterwards.
Even worse.
But they just keep being struck in the sides and in the backs, and Tyranny was hiding patiently inside the passport, just waiting for the call of like on contact on the door so he could swing through. 5-0 MNM. Only one round has really been close for the side of W7M. That could have gone their way. But that wasn't this one. That was the previous Armory play. We're back towards the bathroom and tellers.
Fun fact, yeah. In the SI final that we had recently, the W7M were part of, Nafe actually did make an appearance at one point in all chat, thanks to Doki.
Oh, I was going to say, it's like he didn't play the game.
He didn't play the game. Doki gave him a shout out in all chat in front of the 100,000 watchers. Nafe wants to replay the favor now. Keep that going. Dispatch another team. Go to the final, say, hey, Doki. Shout out to Doki.
Doki still has the opportunity to make it himself.
He still has the opportunity, and that would be a very funny final.
Nafe and Doki against each other. KZ going through. Drone has somehow gone unseen as they were opening up.
I think they hoped that they were just droning on the other side. And to be honest, it's the play that we've seen from MNM successfully throughout this half so far is take an opportunity. What are they going to do?
Yeah, for sure. But a mirror win already taken out, or that comes through. Darren 92 gets fired for a second, no! And he gets shut down from the opposite balcony, so one-on-one trade this time. Maybe a bit too greedy out there. Wanted to go for the second, but still the Zofia off the board, and a lot of damage done to Yana.
Yeah, that's the sort of swing there. They almost gave Herds an impactless half there. Sent him home 0-5 on this, but you know, it's a great gun close range. It's a tricky gun a little bit more. Solotov, he's angling for an engagement, but he cannot win it out. Herds finally finds his first kill for this half now, and a breath of relief. They have the man advantage too, something that has not really been theirs, but not for very long. Nafe does the final end to that player. They're concerned about the entrance here. Philippox is here to offer some support. They slink on through the C4 from underneath. Reloading. Nade, once again an engagement with Nafe. It was a 1 versus 1 that these two had earlier on before. This time Nade wins it out. Puts them into a 2 versus 3.
Still a floor that needs to be covered by the side of W7M, but they have the man advantage in 1:15 left. The Gemini Replicator will be gaining a lot of information here for the side of W7M, exactly on where Nello is located and where the other player is not going to be located. Users in a crucial role out here up the top. If he finds 1 or 2, this round can be turned around, and as a flashbang gets pulled, they might be aware of his position.
Yeah, they are not throwing opportunity away here. They know the read on users. There comes the flashes through, there comes the drop of the hatch, and they just take control of the territory. User still has the C4, but it says this, the route underneath, and now they have the vertical control. He's playing this gamble. Does he want to try and loop the C4 up under, or does he want to see if he can get the player hoping for the fight above the hatch itself? They've got to take it. At some point, they take it very clean. Nello, 1 versus 3 situation. Cannot find anything. W7M, they get a round from their half, but outside of that, even using their timeout, all they have ahead of them now is the hope of playing the rest of them successfully.
It's a buffer. You're allowed a single round to slip away from them. They want to be able to get the victory still out here. Tyrant out here, finding one. Just missing out on Herds out there. And I'm not sure if he would have left after the first kill, if he would have lived, or if he would have still been picked up, but maybe a bit too aggressive here and there.
I mean, it's always the tricky thing, isn't it? When you're in that sort of situation.
I mean, you're 5-0 up, you want to be aggressive, right? You want to keep up that pressure.
You're 5-0 up. It just takes one of those bullets to hit the head from that sort of damage. Yeah. It's a spray. It's a lot of bullets you fling in down the long range. It's just tricky for them to sort of hit the mark with the full impact that they can possibly have. I mean, if it's a double, it's potentially the whole round secured. It's a risk that I think when you're 5-0 up, as you said, you're willing to sort of take. Here, though, hey, remember that operator that was banned? The first map, the Monty, well, they're not going to make an appearance, actually. Sick pick off towards a blitz in the hands of Tyrant. I do love a cheeky bit of blitz nowadays.
Sneaky blitz and normal blitz.
Sneaky blitz, normal blitz, cheeky blitz. Quick pop blitz with KZ going for the swing outside. They down on the gadget.
He's very sneaky now, trying to make sure they don't know there's a blitz on the field.
Yeah, he's someone you can hear in Milo.
He's walking very slowly, shield up.
Staring at a wall.
Staring at a wall, not giving away anything. Just making sure that he's staying hidden until the time is right.
Well, Solotov in underneath, wants to try and place some grenades up towards the rotate, force any CC players out of position, give them a bit of control of the ground there. In terms of where the blitz can go, obviously you want to try and make sure that you have a good read on the route, and whether you go straight up a stair set inside the core of the site itself or not, well, that still means you've got to get rid of KZ. You have to minimize the chance of somebody just popping up and appearing behind you.
Okay. Now, what are you going to do, MNM? Because you're trying to formulate an attack out here. The Vigil is active. You see the stripes just come on your screen as KZ is trying to rotate around. Spotted out, though, as he rotates by. Back into his spot. It's starting to be shut down from the side.
Yeah, as I said, you need to have the awareness. Solotov does at least get the kill on the back of it, but they've lost what their idea of the surprise strike was, and with a minute 30, they get some of the control of the territory, but it's quite obvious. It's not as clean as that. W7M have those angles, have that watched, and still have the stretch over to Office as well. It's always that thing with MNM's attack that we saw on Kafe. It took a little bit too long to bring to a boil. They sort of hoped W7M would get impatient. It's a team that's definitely learned the rules of patience over the past year they've had in Rainbow Six Majors.
And that comes back to the overall MNM attacking win rate we've seen so far on the attack. 48% of them have been won. Yes, that's close to a 50-50, but if we look at W7M, for example, even though this map is not really an example for it, they're closer to 60% of their attack rounds to be won. And that's because they have that little bit of extra pace here and there that we sometimes miss from MNM, especially over that last map. Now, phone calls are coming off. That's usually a call for at least a push to be made, and you see some of the blue outlines making their way over towards the armory as Nello will find the very first onto the side directly.
Users gets one more, and Nello's going to see if he can stick the kid in the meantime. Solotov goes deep, gets dropped. Nello has to pull himself off because Philippox has the kill onto Nate. The C4 gets one, it's a 1 versus 1. Nello versus Nade, the player who's been able to find himself in these clutches engagements before, lost the previous 1 versus 1. Nello goes for the plant. He's going to see if he can stick it this time. The swing's going to come around onto the back. He's up just in time. They're spraying through the soft. Not much health, and it's Nade! To win it out. Takes a moment. Lost the 1 versus 1 last time. Make sure he doesn't lose it this.
Counter defuse comes in. Well done by W7M. They held on just barely again. And MNM able to just push through in the end. But maybe just, I don't know what it was out there. Like, we've seen MNM rounds where they fully trusted their team going for the diffuser, knowing they were clear when one of their teammates died, and they could just stick it. Here they went off for just a second, which then again, basically costed them 7 seconds. At a later moment in time. Beautiful C4, by the way. Just finding the player out on the balcony really opened up the opportunity for Nade to start rotating through, win that round.
MNM in a 4 versus 2. What could go wrong?
Yeah, I'd say that, right? What could go wrong?
An anthology. Okay. I mean, as I said, the pressure is obviously still in the pockets of W7M. Sure, they got the first map, but this being so handed so quick. MNM just need 1 more to put themselves in a very good situation, and they're on the attack on border. It's trickier for the defenders to get themselves locked in convincingly on this map, and it's a great bit of speed for them there. Get some hype behind the play. But that overextension costs MNM just a little.
The map is still paper thin, of course. That's always the thing you have to bring, and maybe that's why they went a bit more aggressive. Like, it's just a single wall between you and the opponent most of the time is KZ. Goes for a run out, gets spotted out, but doesn't take or deal any damage, so no worries out there. Especially in the meantime, detention, I believe, that has been opened up, and the drone is droning around, trying to find the information on Philippox, who's down below.
Yeah, they want to see if they can get a loose player here because, well, it's good to remove them, but first off the board is Solotov. KZ keeps himself control. A power player who's only really started to put some damage in. again, you look at the sort of combination of KZ and Herds not being able to find really anything in the first half. The more and more they get into this game, the more and more this becomes dangerous, especially with Solotov being the first shut off. They'll root themselves through, they're holding themselves slightly lower on Repel. It's still that conversation of, you know, MNM not quite getting themselves inside the building, keeping themselves a bit further away. There's pings on a player. Oh, and there's the drop. Nave had the intel. KZ still causing problems, though.
All they needed is one step to be made by JV92. He did it, and they managed to instantly reply on a good communication on the back of the information to come through. Back in a 4-on-4. More players to be found by the side of MNM, but as you just mentioned, and we have mentioned many, many times before, they need to get in the building to start punishing these players. They're still playing outside for the majority of it. Even then, when they're so close to be entering, they just step back out. Philippox, the next one in line to take a fight. Is there a drone to feed information to the rest of MNM? It doesn't seem to be the case, as Nate finds Nate.
There's Nello and Tyrant getting one apiece elsewhere, though. The response to Nate up top and the swing down to Philippox below. 3 versus 2. KZ is about to be in an engagement himself. Whether they know about it, Usus, he's tucked with the SMG. He is a good Dyer. Oh, but the only one to die is KZ. Now a 3 versus 1. Herds, as I said, he's been a bit slow to impact this game. Only 1 in the final attack round. In the last turn of the half, Tyrant does some damage. They have an awareness of the player, but 20 seconds, they have to get their execute on the go.
Can he do it? Herds to make sure they maintain that buffer. No, Nello finds him. And MNM, they are on that point.
Family cam.
Family cam. And now they have 4 opportunities.
Marshmallow cam.
To put one leg into the semifinals.
W7M cam. Sorry, I'm just naming them.
MNM cam.
MNM cam. Replay cam. Okay. MNM. 6-2. Now it's not a 4-2, so you might have a chance of winning it. That's the most dangerous scoreline. Yep. 40 line for any team here. And as I said, it's just been a fantastic shutout. That was filthy. Yes. I'm glad we have a replay machine just to see that. There it is. It's these sort of scrapes through, but the continual shutdown of those 2 huge players, 2 of the biggest in not only this tournament, but also the most prominent over the past year of Siege, just have not been able to enjoy the game of Border. Now I think we might just be having a very quick tech pause, unfortunately.
Does happen.
They happen.
Right now, the statistics are 11 on 11 on opening kills. Very even. Of course, W7M, they already have their 1 map in their pockets. MNM, 4 rounds to find their first map as well. And pushes to the decider. So the players, of course, they cannot talk right now. They will be silent, they will be quiet. Who will that favor? Well, I mean, I would guess MNM right now, considering they're the ones in the driver's seat, and W7M just suffered a loss. They would probably like to try and talk out.
Obviously, we're set up to maybe be in Villa, depending on if this map goes into MNM's favor.
Yep.
Last time that we saw an EU team go up against W7M on Villa, it was Koi with a 7-0 win to W7M. So, a terrifying prospect for a team to fight them on. That was at SI 2023. We do not have a Villa in the books for MNM versus a Latin American team.
No, we do not.
But they have slightly less maps to play. Hey, look, there's the MNM section.
The plushies.
Love them. Love a good plushie. Love the good plushie. They're everywhere.
But for Villa, we do have 2 plays in...
Cowboy hat guy.
Yeah, it's been
every
major. Over like the past year or so.
Every single major I've ever been to.
I've seen him at Charlotte.
Cowboy hat guy.
I've seen him at Berlin. I think in Chipping as well.
He puts the yeehaw in Rainbow Six yeehaw seed. Just a tech pause. I said before, we'll be back in with the game. MNM and unfortunate tech pauses on map point.
Yeah, that is quite unfortunate. But hey, they only need one more round to find themselves a map 3. Try and knock out a Brazilian team. One already went through. There is an opportunity that we have 4 Brazilian teams in the semifinals at the end of the day.
Hey, Jay.
Hello.
Look right, Jay. Look right.
What's the right? Yeah, there you go.
There you go. It's Jay, no limit. You may see them.
Asking you to call him.
One of our fantastic cosplay community.
Yes. Ventilation Workshop, if we get back in, is going to be the site that we'll be headed to. The site where W7M tries to fend off the marshmallows that are currently on fire.
Your defense is terrified.
What's the rest of the shot going to be then? Marshmallows on fire?
Let's see if they take it out. I don't want to be the one that curses them. Hey, there's our trophy. The game will be on screen in just a moment. The players are getting their setup done. As we said, it's the vent site. There we go. It's the vent site itself, and they've got the stretch around underneath now. No pocket blitz, but the solace is in the hands of KZ. We've seen a juggle up and down, and obviously we've unfortunately had stats removed, as is tradition in a rehost. But I can tell you that it's sort of summed up by one story, too. Herds and KZ have not really been able to get a big bite of this game. And, you know, people have off games. But as I said, that's the second and third best rated players from the whole tournament. 2 of the best gunners this game has at the minute. They have just not been able to get a good taste of border. In the meantime, the guns of MNM have come in quite balanced. Nath has kept on popping up, getting these trades out. Tyrant is having a much better map than he did in the first. But to see.
Not the best of starts for MNM on the first map point. Quick damage being done back towards Herds, but as he's rotating out, he's locking off his exit. Making sure he's not going to be chased by any of these players. And MNM, you need to take that control of the building itself. Like, yes, you got away with it last round, but just love to see them to be more aggressive in the map like Solotov is right now, to try and hunt down these players, to really start shepherding them out of position so you can catch them if they move. And Solotov might be doing exactly that.
That was hilariously timed, but that was not what killed him. It was the cap can on the walk through the door itself, and suddenly it's 5 versus 2. MNM blinked and you missed most of this round. Now they're going to get themselves an angle through onto the pressure on the back end, but they've still got to take the vertical, and then the site itself at this point, with a minute 30, this is really W7M's to lose. The first player is in the hands of Nello, and they can put the pressure onto the quick hop. They take the hatch hop, they're out of there. As I said, they don't need to hang around to that territory too directly when you've still got C4s as well. Border is a map that works well on retakes. You can get yourself rotated around to the back, come up the back stairs once again, especially in a 4 versus 2.
So paper thin. And Users out here looking for a kill. His first round he's looking for, which would definitely be giving them an opportunity to get back into it, but a hedge drop there from the Maestro indeed comes in, and that means there's no one really left up on the top they need to worry about. It's now just going to be Users dropping into the side that gets caught off, and Nello alone in a 1v4, needing to clutch it to secure the map and push them to a map number 3. KZ gives away his position and he will be found. 35 seconds left on the clock for Nello to try and make this work.
Catch on the camera, but the player's ready to swing out. They've got themselves 2 angles set up. Not a lot of bullets in that gun. None of them will make the impact that they could have. W7M, their 3rd round, their 2nd defense. They're 3 away from pulling themselves back to OT. MNM's 1 away to pulling us to what you can hear the audience chanting.
Come around is all they need. And they know it. They're fully aware of it. Don't you worry about it. But these first and last rounds, keep saying it, so difficult. And under attack. All right, that's a bit of comedy timing out there.
I mean,
detonates it, he blows himself up by a different explosive.
Very funny timing.
I doubt they found it funny. Maybe not now, maybe later on if they watch back.
It's funny for us.
It's funny for us, yes.
They've got
They got this. One more round. And they're through. All right. Top floor, Armory. We've seen this one almost go to the way of MNM before, but then they maybe overextended a little bit. They started giving away these fights in that 4v2, and suddenly it's a 1v1 post plan that gets won by W7M. But plenty of time left to make the counter defuse stick. A different kind of play is coming out now, though. See the Montaigne. See the Dokubi out there. We might be trying to eye up a bit of a sneaky plant from Mellow.
I mean, as we sort of saw in the previous map, we didn't see any of Monty. Was banned, was removed by W7M, and they've tried one shield this map so far. MNM did not quite have the impact they wanted it to. This is a very different caliber of shield. This one, we'll see if Nello can get himself in, maybe get that turtle shield placement just on the inside of the door of the site. Watching ready, Herds. Holding on, has a C4 to maybe try and loop out. They're not going to take the route up just yet. MNM, I mean, we've sort of paid some of the word to how their approach can be deemed a little bit too slow and hands-off. In that sort of situation, it does pay off.
We wanted to see a grenade to follow up right after that window got opened up. It's of course a bit of, you know, it's early in the round. You don't have a drone inside. You wouldn't have known that Herds is playing inside that corner at that given time.
I was a bit worried there.
I was a bit worried as well because I saw Nave walking through with a grenade about to be tossed, but they put back in. It's going to be close.
That bounce close. There's the first. Nave gets the camera out second. There's Nello re-picking up the kit. There's the fight inside CC for Solotov. A 5 versus 3, and there's that pair once again off the board. JV92, he's a name that's also been screamed for W7M, one of the classic roster that's still on, the only one still standing with a minute 20. Nello holding off. A narrow firefight, they want to slip through, but there's 2 C4s on board. They're ready and prepped for this. That one's angled right out towards the AC window. For that player in the position, they're rotating where they want to go for the plant. Plan A, it hasn't quite worked. The Monty is drawing the attention still on the door. The smoke's there. They want to try and bait out the C4s over the top, but no one's taking the bait for now. It's that gamble. Let's go for Armory site instead. And Nello, try and get as much attention as you can here inside Archives. Try and get the read on the players. And if you can, become a replacement for a door, because we have control underneath. They have eyes. They're trying to bait the swing. Nello, don't go too deep. There's one more for users. Nave's going for the stick on the back end. Nello has become a door, forcing a route round the post block. And it is flawless! MNM take their first map ever on a major stage in front of a crowd. And one more separates them from knocking out the SI Grand Finalists of W7M.
They started this one off with so much pace. Can they keep it up for the next? Well, we are headed to a quick break before we will find out.
I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? Don't hang with it who line for nothing. I see that we different, you riding, I double. I don't do discussions on bragging about hundreds. On go go to your places, I know that they sunken. Don't call me your brother, I barely could trust it. I talked to a shorty, she bagging the bugging. And I'ma need all of my dollars on corporate, so hand me the money, I divvy the pie. I'ma give all of my people a portion to build them a fortune, I'm flipping the ride. I can't be mixy when iffy the vibe, and 40 on 50 is really the time. Why are you all on my phone like you want me, like you wasn't pushing the kid to the side? I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage, I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling.
Welcome back, Copenhagen. Here we are. Map 3 is on the books. MNM come back to tie it 1-1. And we could hear the crowd very, very clearly through that final map. Though, the third one is about to begin. But first, let's recap what happened on border. MNM looked in complete control.
Exactly, especially those first few rounds on their own defense, and it kind of feels like, you know, MNM in combination with a dock on border feels like a match made in heaven. It allows them to roam, it allows them to put a lot of pressure onto the map, then stim themselves back up and keep on playing aggressive into the face of W7M. What happened on the side of W7M, a few players that you usually see step up, a few players that usually do really well, Hertz, KZ, they didn't really have the brightest start to that game, causing W7M to lose round after round after round. MNM, in general, on their defense, just managed the timing very, very well.
I think I set the expectation that whoever won the first half was probably going to go on to win the game. I thought that, you know, W7M, when they played against Sonics, they had very good attacks, but it was also a very clear counter strategy onto Sonics. But MNM, when they, you know, played it against FaZe this map, they were prolific on the defense. They were prolific again today, like you say, finding those entry picks, using the dock. I thought that was it's a vital part of their plan because they get themselves into so many entry early engagements, stim themselves back up. And I think 5-1 half, MNM are also, you know, not a bad attacking team when they stop throwing. I know they threw another 4v2. Yeah. We're gonna unfortunately see it happen here. But they got over the line, and I thought that was very good. Their players that they needed to step up did. I thought Usus was absolutely excellent. Played a little bit of Dokkaebi on the attack as well, which I thought just helped MNM out with that, you know, that passive information.
I'm not surprised that W7M banned out the Montaigne on the previous map. This map, they let him come through, and it was so influential in that final round where Montaigne was able to kind of give that phantom pressure onto Archives, whereas the execute was actually happening on the other side. That led to MNM having a lot of information, and then they could clear the round out from there. If you look at the side of W7M on their own defenses, they got quite a few rounds by having really good passiveness, just holding angles, waiting for an MNM player to, you know, maybe over-aggress, maybe over-peak, but step into that line of sight.
I mean, if things get real tough, then you might as well bring a Monty and make it all work, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what happened, and yeah.
It's a good solution. MNM bash through, take the map. Of course, we have our MNM fan corner here over to on our right-hand side, left-hand side of the screen, and everybody's looking pretty happy about it. However, what changed with W7M from map 1 to 2?
I actually just think that MNM changed. If you looked at how W7M played Kafe, they should have lost Kafe, but they had big players stepping up in big moments, but MNM allowed that. On map 2, MNM did not allow that. They had total control. You know, we saw KZ, Hertz have a lot of fun on Kafe. A combined 5-18 for those guys. That's not what you know, throw JV into that mix and it gets even worse.
Is it the same herds as the first map? Definitely did not like.
No. But this is why on border it works so well with those dock stims. Like they could allow themselves to keep that pressure, play in W7M's faces, and keep on, well, kind of peeking them basically.
And I think that's potentially part of the problem with W7M's kind of strategy and win condition, because it's more around enabling JV, KZ, Hertz into finding those opportunities and having those big moments and big plays. It's not necessarily strategically, you know, default that we see inside of Europe, where it's much more about taking the ground and working through the processes. And I think when you have that and those guys aren't firing and you can't enable them because teams are shutting down those solo plays, it's like you're just running into a brick wall over and over again.
And to really translate it from map 1 to map 2, if I recall you correctly saying after the first post game, you said, oh, well, it looked like MNM is better on the strategies, but W7M seems to be better on the gunplay. And I feel like that, not necessarily switched fully, but MNM definitely were better on the gunplay in this round.
Well, there you go. It's still, if anything, we got the tie. We're going to map 3, our second one for today. Fresh and thank you very much. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, it'll be time for Villa.
I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression is all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? Don't hang with it who line for nothing. I see that we different, you riding, I double. I don't do discussions on bragging about hundreds. Don't go to your places, I know that they sunken. Don't call me your brother, I barely could trust it. I talked to a shorty, she bagging the bucket. And I'ma need all of my dollars on corporate, so hand me the money, I divvy the pie. I'ma give all of my people a portion to build them a fortune. I'm flipping the ride. I can't be mixy when iffy the vibe. And 40 on 50 is really the time. Why are you all on my phone like you want me? Like you wasn't pushing the kid to the side. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling.
누가 가장 인터뷰 중에 욕을 많이 할 것 같은지.
약간 말을 할 때 필터링을 안 하고 그냥 말을 막 하는 것 같아서 생각 없이 말하는 것 같아서 욕을 많이 할 것 같아요.
네, 제가 원래도 욕이 많은 성격이어서 네, 맞는 것 같습니다.
똑같은 스폰킬을 2번 연속 당할 것 같은 사람은?
하퍼. 근데 왜냐면 하퍼가 좀 최근에도 스폰킬을 많이 당하긴 해서
맞아. 어제 스폰킬, 어제 스크림 때도 좀 많이 당해서.
맞아. 연속으로 많이 당했지.
스폰킬 하는 거 아니야? 나만 다 죽이러 올 거 아니야.
하퍼만 뭐라도 스폰킬 당한다.
하퍼만 지키면 되지.
재미로 팀킬 가장 많이 할 것 같은 사람은?
이건 좀 갈렸는데? 근데 약간 당한 사람들 뽑은 것 같은데 그냥? 내가 봤을 때?
솔저 왜 골랐냐면 내가 많이 죽여서 이제 나 죽일 것 같아서 솔저 골랐음.
난 죽일 것 남을 죽일 것 같은 사람 골랐는데?
난 많이 당했어.
맞아.
맞아.
난 항상 남으면 마무리하고 죽이던데. 다 죽이던데.
맞아.
혼자 남는 거 좋아해서 나 일단 죽여 남으면.
아니 쟤는 마무리 아니어도 죽일 때 있어 나.
니는 죽일만해.
왜 나를 죽일만해? 나 아무것도 안 하는데.
아무것도 안 해서 죽이는 거야?
왜 아무것도?
0킬하고 전체대 GG 이지 질 것 같은 사람?
너 아니고 누가 있어 그럼?
내가 이지를 쳐?
이미 사례가 너무 많다.
이지 친 적 없는데?
그래?
비슷한 단어 있잖아.
장난기도 많고 약간 이건 안 되는데 이런 건 안 되는데 약간 비슷한 말을 많이 하지. 이지는 아니더라도 약간 비슷하게.
너 뭐라 하지?
팀챗으로.
팀챗으로 이제 속마음이 언젠가는 한번.
전챗으로
한번
치면 야 재밌는데 그거.
굳히게 들어갔는데.
그러니까 이미지 나쁘게 만들고.
I remember things 7 years ago.
Naquela época, tudo era menor.
Mais en chacun d'entre nous, la flamme brûlait déjà.
Über die Jahre sind wir zusammengewachsen.
Y hoy son millones los que nos apoyan.
皆さんの応援は我々の原動力です
Ve sevdiğimiz işi yapmamıza olanak sağlıyorsunuz.
และสิ่งเหล่านี้จะเป็นไปไม่ได้ถ้าหากเราไม่มีพวกคุณ
Devemos tudo isso a vocês
Därför vill vi säga gracias.
Obrigado ขอบคุณครับ
Danke.
ありがとう
Kiitos.
Merci
From the bottom of our hearts, thank you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Copenhagen. We're live at Blaster 6 Major. I'm Mnmgaming, your host. On the desk here with me are Ann and Fresh. We just seen a tie-up 1-1 between W7M and MNM. W7M and M.
Yeah.
How we're going to do it from now on, just to make it a lot easier for everybody on here. But we go to map 3, Villa. My question is, how the hell did we get to this map?
Well, I want people to think back about the final part of this map ban phase, draw your attention to that, because MNM have pulled off something which I think is really, really smart. They have 2 permabans, Bank and Theme. You'd think, why would you let a permaban like Theme come through so far in this map ban phase? They haven't played it at all this year. Right, W7M don't play that map too often. It's a highly contested ban for W7M too. So for MNM to have the confidence to let it come through so far, so they can then say, hey, we don't want to play Theme at the very final ban, to draw everyone towards Villa, where they themselves have a pretty good history. They have a 7-5 versus VP, a 7-1 versus Sandbox. It's also kind of high preference for W7M, but their last match on that was during SI with a completely different lineup.
So that's something that you can exploit in this case, but you do leave yourself open because you've played it and there is intel on here, Jack.
There is intel, and I think MNM will be operating throughout this whole, bracket, should they get on today, with their opponent having intel, because they're not going to, I mean, they might play Bank, but they're not going to play Bank. Maybe Theme Park comes out. So MNM, for them, it's about getting them on maps where they're comfortable. I think Kafe, Border, Villa, they're comfortable on all of them. Now, as we go into Villa, obviously, like you said, the last time W7M played it was 6 Invitational. It was a 7-0?
7-0.
7-0 victory the last time they played it for W7M. So they're very, very comfortable at it. But also, for the longest time, Villa was known as an MNM map. In EUL, teams were not taking MNM to Villa, because if they were losing it.
So what you're trying to say is that last time W7M were really, really, really good on Villa was when Julio, the guy who's coaching on the other side, was playing on it.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
the plot thickens, huh?
Isn't that a conundrum? Something that definitely could be exploited by MNM in this case. But we need everybody to step up in this case, and MNM can't just rely on the laurels of the past, but also map 2 and their win on Border. What has to happen to make it an MNM victory?
Well, I mean, I like the playstyle they brought out from the previous map, where they played aggressive, where they had each other, well, where they peeked into the faces of the W7M players. As long as they have that confidence and they, again, punish W7M for when they want to get those 2v4 rounds back in their favor, that's when you see a strong MNM.
I think MNM, if we're looking at this purely from an MNM perspective, they need to back their strategy. They need to back that Nello and Nave will guide them around the park, better than Lagonis will. Sorry, not Lagonis.
That's the other result.
Better than Felipox will for W7M. And I think generally MNM have been better strategically in the first 2 maps. So MNM need to trust in their process, but then also enable their star fraggers, especially Solotov, but also we saw users. We saw Tyrant get enabled on Border. If they can continue that momentum, like Anne says, there's no reason why MNM shouldn't win this game. They are starting on the attack. So attack has been pretty 50-50 for MNM, where when plan A has gone wrong, they haven't had a lot of ideas on the plan B.
Then is there a way where we see W7M extending their roam?
Probably so. I think what W7M are going to look to do is isolate and identify Solotov. I think probably mainly Solotov, but MNM, because they can be quite detached from each other on their attacks. Isolate, get aggressive, make those plays. For W7M, it will have just been a big reset after map 2.
Who takes the win? Come on, you already put yourself in this.
MNM take the win.
All right, Anne?
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Who wins? MNM? W7M? There's a few out there. All right, Copenhagen, give me your energy. It's time for map number 3. It's Villa. Thanks so much, Fresh and Anna. Casters are ready. MNM, take it away.
Thank you very much, Milos. And you go to an EU audience for answers. You get EU answers. MNM, though, to be fair, I think they're posing a few more questions for W7M than they expected.
They're definitely pulling up the challenge to W7M here. In my eyes, one of the favorites of the tournament, especially after how they showed up in those 5 maps they've only played. They haven't played much more. Now it's down to 7. And as we're headed to Villa, there's one thing I want to see from MNM.
What is it, Hap?
Their attacks, they need to speed up just a little bit more. Because Tim just walked by and he's like, what do you think? What do you think?
There he is.
Let's walk by again.
Walk by again. Loves to walk by, Tim. There's Milos as well.
What do you think? Villa, MNM? Or W7M? And I said, MNM can win it, but they need to speed it up because they've already struggled with it on Bay. They struggled a little bit with it.
Whoa!
Oh,
that was cool.
I haven't seen that one yet.
No.
On Border,
came with a whole swoosh.
But on Villa, if you're not quick enough, you are really going to be struggling with time. They're starting off on the attack here, and that makes it even more important that they quick get into the base here.
Fair enough. I think removing the Dockerby there, it's an operator that's powerful in the right hand. It's not one that, you know, we've strictly seen played too much from W7M with massive impact, but MNM had a great impact. Nomad will also be impactless here as well. And that's a specific call out to JV.
Acknowledged as well. Next band to come in. Zami.
Yeah.
Again, no wonder. We saw how it played out in the first map, and you know, MNM already being slow in their attacks. They don't really need another operator out there to slow them down, and as the Valkyrie gets removed, it's just that little bit of information game. And I feel like I keep repeating myself on every map, but there's always so much clutter you can hide these cameras in. It's so difficult to find every now and then. And if you struggle with taking out those Valks, you're basically forced to be playing with an IQ, which then takes away a bit of that flexibility you have in the attack. So let's get underway, shall we? Aviator as the very first of what could go up to a grand total 15 rounds to decide who of these two teams is going to be making it to the semifinals.
Well, MNM will lead in here with their attacks, and it will be potentially the one that sets the tone for how this game breaks across. They were able to have a couple of good moments, but otherwise, generally, it's been the half that we've seen less of an impact from. Obviously, it was the brilliance of their defense on the opener of Border there that gave them the second half, where they didn't really have to do too much on the opponent side. In terms of Kafe, they were punished a bit after having a good lead on their defense. They get themselves a couple here.
Again, that was one of those rounds on Kafe where if they would have won that one, hey, we would have found ourselves in the third matchup right now. So, that being said, it is going to be MNM on the attack. Again, I want them to be quicker. I want them to actually take the map under their own hands. They cannot just be playing from windows out here. They need to create space for themselves.
Now, one of the worries that I have on this map is that it's obviously a lot vaster. It gives more time and more places for W7M to be problematic against the MNM take here, and it was frequently proven on Kafe. It allowed KZ and Herds room to breathe. They moved around the space, they kept on popping up in these dangerous places, and as the rest of the site was being held down by the cool calm that was down there, Solotov might be the one that slips his way through, finds the first fight. He's gonna get swung from red. Does he know? No, he gets further than he thought. Bit of damage, there's the end of it. And there is KZ with one more. Users moving around to the back. Philippok stops the rest of the push. MNM, they tried to throw everything in behind the wake there, and unfortunately punished.
There's definitely a bit more pace there from the side of MNM. Hertz coming around the corner will find Nate. He's shut down by Nella, but he's going to be on 1 HP now to try and look off the round. He's not gifted any. KZ shuts him down, and W7M very comfortable on this first round here. Shut down MNM. And yes, the entry was there. And yes, we did see the nut come in uncontested, find a kill, but then maybe dug a bit too deep, not having the cover from the rest of the team at the ready to secure what was coming right afterwards.
It's that sort of situation there as well. Obviously, it was very early to get the kill. They then kept on moving into the side itself. They, you know, maybe didn't expect the player from red to be that close, that ready to swing. Yeah. They obviously didn't with the position that they got themselves into. They wanted to tuck the fight towards the back end and hoped that there was a little bit less of W7M on the site itself. Instead, what was a quick advantage and could have been maybe pulled back with some study hold and control, with some pressure up on the back of Philippok, then at that point wouldn't have been able to rotate out. It's those little moments there from MNM where they ended up costing them. They had a bit more pace, but unfortunately, it wasn't what they needed that time round. Hey, it's your first Villa hold.
It's always that dilemma, right? Like, if you get an opening kill on the side that early on, what do? Do you meet it with, like, extra pace? Or do you slow it all the way down and play it, like, fully strategically? And it seemed like the call was not very synchronized, or at least W7M was ready for at least a quick option that was chosen at that point. And we're able to fend off the opening kill to go against them. Stat tree now. The next site, W7M. Will be extending themselves over the top floor as a whole. I believe there's also a single player that is playing somewhere around on that first floor down below to be a bit of a an ace up the sleeves of W7M. Someone who can freely rotate around to wherever needed and potentially get a C4 up. Or has he rotated around? He's rotated up now.
Now, what are MNM going to try and formulate on the take here? The pressure's coming. Said underneath, the rotations come around, skips their way past the pass. That might allow them to get a little bit more of a breathe of the information. Tyrant, he's tucked on the side of Mudroom. There is the player caught in the middle of the library, whether they double stack or not. Solotov is that in motion with Herds playing on, and it's sort of turned into a little bit of a standoff. Do they know they're about to get caught between two players? Oh, doesn't matter. Herds wins out.
Relatively little damage done to Herds himself, but Solotov sneaks around to the library, finds the kill either way, so we have a one-on-one trade. 2 grenades taken care of though, MNM not able to use those as they died with Tyrant. Still 2 left in Solotov's pockets. And as the rest of MNM is looking to mount an attack over the bedroom and the walk-in closet here. This Solotov down below still hunting to see if there's anybody to be found, and he isn't quite wrong on that, because Philippox is still down there, still out in that basement near the staircase. C4 in pocket he could use as soon as they do enter the bedroom or the walk-in closet, and I believe there's definitely some information out there that they will need to deal with.
Pressure onto the wall, the break as the roll through. The Thatcher will get this done pretty quickly. You know, you're probably not going to be able to play against it too aggressively, but there, second pop, you've got the worry on the other side on the split. Solotov, does he know about the player? No. It's seemingly turning into a repeated question here. KZ is tucked in a good place. They've been able to impact, stop the breach coming through cleanly. Nello wants the fight across the long range. But now, with only 30 seconds left and with what is just pieces of the wall removed, they're about to find the pressure round onto Astro itself. Nello goes and gets caught instantly by JV92 watching the long range. Philippox does get one, but W7M, I was going to say the trade out. Quite there to take.
Bit of the same as what we saw in the early attack rounds in Kafe, where it just died. 2 players still out on the flank from W7M. A lack of information, as you will. Just a little bit of dysynchrony out there. Of course, they're on the attack. It is statistically the harder site, and historically the harder site on Villa. But we still expect them to get 2 rounds. That's what they need to have themselves a good half here, or a decent half rather. And it starts off with the start tree side. This is where we need to see them have a reply at the ready to make sure that they at least put themselves on the board.
You know, you always sort of look at it and you go, is it a lack of awareness of the players in these positions from the side of W7M, or MNM just trying to get a bit lucky? The Nook drive up the top of red, looking towards the site itself.
I get what you mean, but it's like you cannot really, on this level, at the main stage right now, think it's going to be clear if you do not have a drone ahead of it, or you need to have done very extensive VOD reviewing that you know that there's no one playing in that position to go for it. And the last time they, like W7M played this map was SI against Koi when they won 7-2. That's a long time ago. And they've changed over then. Roster, but also, of course, like tactics. So I don't think you can rely on just walking through and hoping you not get seen every single time.
Well, there's some drone intel.
Somehow doesn't get seen.
The Solace, of all people, looking the wrong direction. KZ should get that in just a second, but obviously it'll only tick if it's being actively watched. There's the ping, the play, the move against the Razor Bloom, and there it is. Herds strikes the Nook. There's an early take. There was another player around the top of the stairs, but they've otherwise pulled themselves back. There it is.
And again, like, you're losing the entry to a player being aggressive inside of Aviator Games. Now, they might have been aware of that, but there's no cohesion there on the side of MNM. They're not working together to take out that player. It's Solotov out alone.
Stolen Twitch drone.
No.
The worst kind of crime. And that is giving them a lot of a read here. Use that to get rid of risky utility. Hertz gets rid of Nafe. There's KZ getting users. And this has been a hefty shutout here. Tyrant, the only thing stopping a flawless round, but he's now got to go flawless himself to claim the round. Cannot W7M get their third defense on Villa.
Must be attack timeout coming out from MNM right now, because
it is.
They've just been looking absolutely clueless on this map. They've not been able to make anything happen. And just looking at the kills, they have 4 over 3 rounds. One of those was an entry kill, and some on the back of that, but again, they're just taking these engagements. There is no droning ahead of it, or seemingly no droning ahead of it, as far as we can see. They just lose the first player, and then they lose the second, and it all just goes down south very quickly after. W7M, they were here to play and to show that Villa is their playing ground. Again, I'm going to be mentioning it. Last time this team played this map, SI 7-0 against Koi.
I think the people know that now.
They know that now. Are
Said it a few times.
Are they on route to get another one, Amy?
I mean, the worry is, for me, the noticeable difference from map 2 and map 3 here is that Danger Pair have struck again. They've brought themselves back into this engagement. You're seeing now this energy back from them, and you know, they're 12 kills between the pair of them over the opening 3 rounds. And that is that danger. That is that worrying statistic that every team faces when you go up against W7M. We'll be going back to AVG next, and the way this one sort of started was, well, in the favor of MNM. They got that first read. The Nook was able to get themselves in short and sharpish. And then from that, they moved into more of a creative engagement.
I mean, it just took any engagement at that point, right? It's like they get the first, they felt like they needed to go quick. Maybe that was the plan, I don't know, but it's like these gunfights are taking place all over the map, and they're all headed towards the W7M camp. That needs to be stopped now. There's gonna be no Nuck this time on the side of MNM. Decided to go for the Yana Solotov. Line on the back will maybe provide with a bit of extra safety if they want to go for a push somewhere. So at least the opponent will stay still and is not going to be actually trying to take an active fight back at you without you knowing. Oh, through the drone, oh, KZ. There's no Malaya now, so that is off the board. The entry kill again goes to W7M. That's just unfortunate for the side of MNM.
I mean, unfortunate it's turning into that sort of story here. Felipox droned out, caught out. Solotov gets the kill back. There is one more player on the far side, and KZ! Great response for W7M there, and they're not going to overstay their welcome. That's 3 people dead, almost 4 in the opening minute.
KZ not going to try and challenge users out here. Hurt the DMR from that window and decides it's been enough. Taking my 2 kills. I'm rotating back towards the side and wait for this push to come to shove. Nave down below is trying to gain some information, doesn't see anybody out here, and normally this would be the sign for the grenade operator to come in and try and hit something from below, but Solotov already died, hasn't had the opportunity to play with it. KZ gets spotted out, might be pushed from 2 different sides at the same time now. Nave picks him up as the C4 blows.
Finally get revenge, they finally get an even body balance, and they finally have some map control here. Something that they haven't really seemed to get too smoothly on the first 3 rounds. And obviously they've had the tac timeout to talk about what went wrong. What can go right now? They still have the power position on the stair set itself. JV92's got the shield. They've got time that it needs to still be cleared out, and Usus is doing just that. The role of the Twitch drone, a player who's had a big impact in the run for the team up to this point. Hasn't quite been able to have it in this map as of yet.
Just no real like utility there to get rid of these shields, so except for this RC Retiro that will be able to all the way dig through and manage to take care of that shield, which now will allow MNM to potentially go for a plant if it wasn't for the smoke and a sit to pop off. There's still 2 more in pocket as the Twitch drone takes care of some utility on the main stairs. It's MNM now that needs to force a play to happen.
Yeah, they're trying to get themselves stuck just behind the vault door itself and go for the plant, but that smoke canister is perfectly played. 20 seconds, and that is a huge risk now for the fight. Nafe holding onto the door, but they don't have control of the main stairs itself, and now as another throw through gets thrown across the board, you're still looking at coverage of smoke. What are you going to do here, MNM? Unfortunately, lose the first engagement. Users picks up the kit, goes for the plant in the same position. There's a watch, looks away at the worst time, a 1 versus 3, cannot find it. W7M get their 4th round in a row.
MNM, they got a lot closer in this round than they have over the entirety of the attack of Villa so far. Managed to find themselves inside, managed to almost get that kit down, just the cover not fully on point at that point. That's improvement. Still, we mentioned it, 2 rounds. That's what we look for them here. They find 2 rounds, they have a good opportunity to go into that second half and actually find themselves competitive. That is definitely going to be used in ranked from now on a lot more.
It was the best round, as you said, that we've had from MNM, the closest for sure to that final setup. And it's kind of what we talked about at the start of this, is you have KZ, you have Herds playing on the stretch and going for those fights elsewhere, but then you have a strong backline as well. 3 storied players in a position to lock this down. MNM, they haven't quite been able to get themselves into the gun game as well as they did on map 1 and map 2. It is that big missing strike here. 4-0. W7M sit.
5 seconds left.
Looking more and more like that team that was in SI Finals.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Now, as MNM was able to put some pressure down before from the opposite side, and, you know, from the bedroom, or at least tried to, there's going to be mirror windows deployed in that area now. And guess what? There's no Twitch anymore. They removed that operator from the board. It's actually going to be quite useful now to get rid of those positions. And otherwise, MNM will have to go for opposite sides, because they could use to try and use the Excaros to get rid of those mirror windows, but so many angles that can still be used by the side of W7M to just clean those mirror windows up from any Excaros on there.
Trying to find, once again, the first engagement with any sort of sign of it being clean. That's nothing that W7M are opting to hand to them. They'll instead step into this approach. It's the call of the drone motion. Otherwise stepping in, KZ does a scratch of damage to Tyrant, and he's not going to risk the second engagement. Instead, the Flores drone getting some important work done first.
Drop the bomb diffuser.
Serial laser gate activated again. Hurts find Nafe as well. That's a second to be found by KZ, and now MNM, they have 3 players left. The E1D will pop to try and at least make something happen, but Philippe is waiting in the corner, gets droned out, but manages to rotate around just in time. Solotov misses the opportunity to punish him for it. What? Turns around at the right timing. Kills another member. There's 2 left standing. Users goes aggressive and will find 1. But they still need to find 4 more. Nitro will find him instead. Nello, the last man standing, gets the player behind the mirror window. He gets flanked from the back. KC shuts him down, and W7M, 5 rounds that they have managed to find in a row on this side of Villa.
It's rough. No 2 ways about it. You can see that the stress is sort of impacting the play of MNM here from what has been such a solid performance. Obviously, pretty much max OT in the first map. Very strong performance in the second. And here, unfortunately, they're being dealt the own hand that they're able to give to their opponents. W7M, they climb ever closer towards progressing through the bracket. 5-0. Will MNM get 1 take on their attacking half here?
That's what we're looking for. Gives them that buffer, gives them a little bit of breathing room. If they fail to get this round now, that means they need to be flawless from there on forward. And it's slowly starting to slip away. And the attack wasn't their strongest point. The defense is what MNM had to rely on to get to where they are right now. But it's going to be a tall ask to go for 6 consecutive rounds of the defense themselves as well.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
Especially with the pressure that's just been put upon them.
Will the first blow be one that they can strike? Said the gun game is still one that unfortunately hasn't really been able to get off the single digit of the singlest digit for one for most of them. Only really Solotov has had multiple successes across the 5 rounds that we've seen so far. Herds is trying to angle into an engagement from the long range, sprays down towards a player that's just tucked into a semblance of safety. Nello, he's eyeing up some pressure onto Laundry, into the swing round, just that drone ahead, getting the steps and the pings on the players. Pulse has the read right back. 3 bodies, 3 calls, the C4, the door, and it's timed to take care of Nafe. Baits for the second engagement. It's suddenly a trade out inside. A 3 versus 3 as Solotov, the Nook, has found some success. The kit and the plant is currently out of pocket and out of hand. There's Tyrant round the back. There's 1, there's 2! Tyrant with a massive moment here. There's Herds. Is everything to try and stop MNM getting a single round. Sees the first pickup. The kit is back in their hands. 1:30. They can move it towards a slightly different plant spot. And, well, they don't have the ability to get that as a quick drop. The drop is the hatch itself. Around the other side of a soft. A lot of noise being made. The swing and the take on Solotov. It's pinpoint, but in a post plant. They're going to rotate. They're going to pull themselves slightly further back. A 2 versus 1 for MNM to have a chance at a single round. Herds cannot hold it. And MNM have a lifeline, but it's one that they must clutch to with everything they have.
It's definitely looking dire for them, but it is doable. Onwards to the defense now. It's been their better sight over this entire tournament so far. We're asking for 5 rounds at least to push you to overtime. Aviator Games, the first to be played. But my worry here is, what if W7M just throw in a very quick attack? Just a quick of a pressure play. How ready will they be for such a play like that?
Attackers need to protect it.
Good use of the vertical out there. The lifeline that MNM need has been gifted to them.
I wouldn't say gifted.
Well, they've taken it.
I would say fought for.
They fought for it, but it could have just as well gone the other way after that first C4 hit and the, you know, top floor and everything being in the control of W7M.
That's what makes it fought for. If it was.
Yeah.
But MNM, they find the first 2, as a lot of teams are expecting. Sure, that puts you in the 5-3. But the concern here is that W7M just need 2 attacks. They just need to take the tertiary side at this point. They get 1, and suddenly the only thing you can look forward to is OT. Suddenly the only thing that you can fight towards is that best of 1 of 1 of 1.
Now MNM, they have a 7-1 victory against Sandbox, 7-5 against Virtus.pro on this very map, on this very tournament. The majority of them came from the defense though, so that hope is there. KZ with the drone. Just making sure his entry is safe before he activates the Inox and jumps in right after to see if there's been any defenders active in the area, as he would start to hunt them down. Herds 9 kills with KZ 10, but Solotov finds 1.
Nade gone. That's your partial hard destruction removed. There's another with a cap can KZ. And that is a huge blow. The Jackal removed from the board, and obviously the Nomad was the ban. MNM want to play this game with a lot of exploration around the map itself, and with Dockerby gone as well from W7M's own hand, it sort of limits your options. You could pull down on the Lion, that we saw obviously played a lot by MNM. Jackal, which is obviously no longer with us on this stretch. Bit of pressure, bit of misthrown. That'll break the soft.
Eventually he will.
Take some time.
Take some time. Herds down below, he has 2 grenades in pocket and he's going to fish for it. It seems like he might be aware of someone down on the basement or the ground floor rather, as he's slowly creeping around the corner. Is he aware of it? The pre-fire might happen. He knows, he gets the kill.
Yeah, the camera not quite active. The bounce of the grenades round. Nafe is going to shuffle his way in towards the site. You can see the cap can wanted to fight on the window itself. There's a bit more coverage. Another canister has been dropped, and the grenades will rock from under. You got to sort of play yourself in slightly off positions. They've got that control with a grenade operator, and now they've got an even man count. Solotov swung onto the window. The next fight is this stair set. Herds doesn't feel confident enough to go for the swing. You got 30 seconds. You've still got to try and get that kit in towards the site itself. It's a sturdy structure, and with JV92 watching onto the window, I'm not sure if the gun vault itself is open. You can see a quick change of hands of pace, the pressure over onto the top, the flashes, and nothing else on it. The kit is out the window, so is JV92. All down to Herds now with 15 seconds and nothing in his pocket. He's trying to find an engagement round onto the swing. 10 seconds, nothing really to show for it. And at this point, I think it's fair to say MNM, well, they're able to get their first defending round.
1 out of 5 to make it to 6. It's been game. And now it's the matter of keeping up that momentum, keeping up the pace, and making sure you do not allow W7M a single moment to breathe over these next couple of rounds. You mentioned tertiary sites is probably the name of the game here. Whenever MNM will be on the least comfortable site they have, that's when W7M needs to strike, and if they do that, they'll find themselves in the best possible spot. And talking about tertiary sites, it might not actually be for the side of MNM, but we are headed towards the kitchen and the dining room.
I mean, I think that's the sort of cost right now, is that they cannot have a tertiary site.
They need to
They're
win.
not allowed.
Yes, they're not
Every
allowed.
site has to be a primary. Every site has to be their strongest performance. Every site has to, in a way, be as strong as their defense was on border. A defense where, well, that 5-1 was what they were able to pan towards their opponents. And from that point onwards, on border, on the previous map, from a 5-1, it traded its way back and forth to the eventual end. If MNM can get themselves a second round here, it's a slight growth. It is a different map. It's obviously a very different structure and a different setup. To be fair, from what was a 5-3 became a 3-3, worryingly quick.
There's always that, like, fact. And the MNM play, sometimes these clear leads they have, they just dissipate out of nowhere. It's partially due to that clutch factor as well that W7M has available to them, just finding those engagements, making them go your way. And as the clutch drone now comes through, that's some valuable information gained from that one drone. Entirely a 90 can be watched out there.
Ooh, they're already watching that. The rotate round to the top. Herds goes for the extended firefight there. A bit of a risk, and Herds actually comes off a little bit worse for wear. The break with the Selmas across the top forced the players out from above the site itself. They have a couple of C4s, so they can play underneath if they wanted to, the rotate, but it's early pressure. Within a minute, W7M has been able to force those players off from the top floor and can try and move their way in and inside. And, you know, it's still that worry of the gun game here. Herds and KZ haven't slowed down. Between the pair of them, they're 20-7. Add Felipox into the mix as well, and it's that danger that we've just not had from MNM this map.
C4 prepared. All they are waiting for is the information to blow it up now. Looks coming around with a clutch drone though. Finds one PC utility, goes for the second PC utility. Not sure if he's going to be able to find a third, but as the sledgehammer is starting to open up, if there is still a C4 out there, this would be a perfect moment to strike.
They're watching, they've got it pre-placed, just tucked onto the side. They're hoping someone drifts a bit too close to it, and it does a lot of damage to KZ. But it does not quite net the full bite of the player. A minute is gone, Solotov gets KZ. Herds wants to try and make his grand entrance onto Laundry, and Solotov wants to try and stop him, but he's a second too late. The Banshee, just within range, just taken care of before it properly screams out. They're trying to find a lead-in kill with the soft work they've done, but the Oster Shield, if that can get tucked round onto a plant, it's going to be tricky to get out of there without the C4 or potentially one of those two impacts round onto the side of it. Herds is watching the rotate, and Solotov is knocked right out of it. You can hear the plant going down. I'm assuming behind, just there, tucked onto the side with the Talon shield right next to it. Probably, there it is. Oh, there's the catch, a little too late. There's one right back, JV92 gets Nath. Suddenly everyone's at the races. The fight over the top is a very important one, and it's one that JV92 wins out against 2 users. He's going for the fight, can it be 3? Nello's on the defuse, Nello's on the watch. He's concerned with a close swing, can't get the netted kill. Gets the shotgun follow-up, a 2 versus 1. He's holding on to as best as he can, has to come off. And he cannot do more than that. 6-2.
1 round left for W7M. And the semi-finals are there. There's no more slipping up for the European team. If there is a moment they need the energy, it is going to be now. They have just lost what we often classify as a tertiary side, but they are not allowed to have fun in this game. And thus, instead of running it back for now, they'll first bring it to Trophy Statuary, the other second floor site. It is about trying to gain a bit of momentum now, and if they win this one, Aviator will open up. A site which they've already won. But every single mistake is going to be highlighted in tenfold now from the side of MNM, because it would mean the end of their tournament run.
Attackers have located a bomb.
I asked it at the very start. Our MNM a main stage team. They've definitely shown they have some of the capabilities. Fortunately for them, W7M, including their pickup of Philippox alongside Nade, have already proven that they are. And they could not have had a tougher test as their first game here on the grand stage. It's not over yet, but the route MNM not opted to take, but were forced down, was the roughest route to get to here. And now they have the roughest route to stay on it. 4 rounds in a row to get to OT.
It's 4 flawless rounds. And W7M, knowing, majority of it at least, what it is to be a runner-up, are hungry for a title, and they smell how close they are to go to those semi-finals to try and reach them once more. Our Siratira pops off, not quite sure what that was supposed to hit. I hope it was the castle barricade, but it was failed.
Castle barricade did not, but Solotov gets Nade. Swings back in. They lose their hard destruction once again. Candelas are on the board. The concern is they can move quick, and Usus is going to have to be the one that stops the fight. There's a rotate. They still have no idea. KZ removes Nafe, gets a second. Tyrant stops him. A tragic moment covered by the audio. Usus holds on to the back end. A 3 versus 3 out of nowhere.
Now low close, gets pretty far, but he still finds the kill into Hertz. He's down below. Tyrant drops. A 2-on-2. It's do or die for MNM. Usus takes so much damage, but he lives just barely as it rotates back around towards the sights.
Philippox on the hunt. They're not aware. There's the strike, and Nello, famed for a clip of a clutch, can't double it down. And W7M take their map and progress on. And I think people always expected them to be one of those teams that's on our final, if not fighting towards it. But MNM made them fight exceptionally hard today. An exceptionally hard fight from MNM is one that's been phenomenal to watch, and still proud of a roster I've watched over the years to get to this point. But as I said, when you're up against the best, it is that toughest challenge yet.
And the fact just is, W7M, of course, is slightly different roster. They were the runner-ups in the World Championships. They are here to show that they want to reach another final and finally win a major, as that's what they have been chasing for oh so long. They've shown incredible resilience here today as well.
And you can see smiles on the face of Julio alongside a team he once played alongside. And, well, he's moved to, you could say, in his words, a less stressful role, so he can focus on his family life. I think working alongside MNM, following them as well, and being a player brings its own amount of stress. But they've had a fantastic run against all odds. to get themselves thrown here. W7M, well, they've only now dropped 1 map, but they've had to play 8 from the 5 they had before. Probably trying to go a bit more flawless. And I think, as you can see, will host Ian Chambers take it away.
Thank you very much, Emmy and Hap. I am rejoined here on the stage by Philippox. Commiserations to the Marshmallows. MNM are now out of this major, but what a run it was for them to make it to the big dance. W7M progress to the semi-finals. It started off where it looked like MNM might have what it takes to win that first map. It didn't happen. You took it. They bounced back in the third one. It looked like you were really in your stride. Is that when you felt supremely confident?
Yeah, I think Villa was a map that they didn't know much about what we do. So unlike the first 2 maps, they couldn't handle our defense.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like you had their number when it came to their attack. Is that something that you researched? Is it something you were aware of coming into this series? And how much did you think about that when you jumped into the server?
Yeah, we saw that in Border, we were being too much punished. So in the defense, we played very slow, very passive, letting them execute. And it was good, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is a potential. I know you weren't part of that SI Grand Final, but there is a potential of revenge here. Would you enjoy the thought of facing off against G2 in a major revenge Grand Final?
I think so. I'm gonna get the revenge for my boys.
Okay, that's what I like to hear. Listen, I do have to ask you this. You are favourites, one of the favourites coming into this tournament. Obviously, you've proven it once again as you propel yourselves into the semi-finals. Do you enjoy the pressure that comes with being one of the top teams here?
Yeah, I think so. It's my first time playing in front of a crowd. It's pretty good to be here. And yeah.
First time playing in front of a crowd. Are we enjoying having Philippox with us here, ladies and gentlemen? I thought so. Philippox, you go rest up, celebrate, and get ready for your semi-final. We're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, we've got our third quarter-final coming your way. G2 and Liquid, do not miss it.